Welcome. I'm truly grateful to have you here. Please, make yourself comfortable and take your time. This story was crafted with care, dedication, and deep respect for your attention. I hope it brings you joy, reflection, and perhaps even a touch of nostalgia. Once again, thank you for sharing a moment of your day with me. The year is 1559, and you are standing in the hallowed, biting chill of Westminster Abbey. An ancient scent fills your nose. Damp stone, old incense, and the faint, metallic tang of winter air clinging to the heavy tapestries. The silence here isn't empty. It's thick, alive with the hushed anticipation of thousands. You feel the rough, unyielding texture of velvet and ermine against your skin, a cumbersome weight of robes that restricts every movement, yet somehow feels like a second skin you must inhabit. Your shoulders ache with the burden of it all, a physical manifestation of the invisible pressures pressing down on you. You are on the elevated dais, the world of the living stretching out below. You see a sea of faces, a blur of English lords and ladies, foreign dignitaries, all eyes fixed, unblinking, on you. Their gazes feel like 1,000 tiny needles, pricking at your resolve, testing your very breath. You try to draw a deeper breath, but the ornate collar of your coronation gown is stiff, unyielding, pressing against your throat. It feels like a gilded cage, beautiful but constricting. A low murmur ripples through the vast space, a sound like a distant, approaching tide. It grows louder as the archbishop, a solemn figure draped in gold and white, lifts the crown of St. Edward. It gleams under the flickering candlelight, a terrifying, mesmerizing object. You watch it, your eyes unwavering, as if staring down a formidable opponent. It is massive, encrusted with jewels that catch the light and scatter it like frozen fire. You feel a tremor, not of fear, but of sheer, overwhelming weight, already settled on your brow even before it touches you. The moment arrives. You feel the cold, heavy metal descend, pressing firmly against your scalp. It is not just the jewels, the gold, the historical significance. It is the sheer, undeniable physical burden. You feel the crown settle, a dull ache blooming at the base of your skull, then spreading across your temples. It shifts slightly as you fight to keep your posture perfectly still, perfectly regal. This is it. This is the weight of England, of her future, of the hopes and fears of millions. You taste iron in your mouth, a mix of adrenaline and the chill of the ancient regalia. The cheers erupt now, a deafening roar that vibrates through the very bones of the abbey, through your own bones. You hear their jubilation, but inside your head there is only the immense, crushing silence of the crown. It promises power, yes, but first, it demands everything. If this story resonates with you, please like and subscribe. I'm curious, where in the world are you listening from? And what time is it there? Share in the comments. You realize, in that single profound instant, that some burdens are not meant to be lifted, but carried, for as long as your body, mind, and will can endure. You find yourself in your private chambers, the opulent silence a stark contrast to the earlier clamor of the coronation. The heavy velvet drapes are pulled back, letting in a sliver of weak winter light that illuminates the fine dust motes dancing in the air. A peculiar, almost medicinal scent hangs faintly around you, a mix of herbs and something sharply metallic, clinging to the heavy air. You run a gloved hand over the smooth, cool surface of your dressing table, the polished wood reflecting the faint glow of a nearby candle. Before you stands the mirror, not one of the grand, ornate Venetian pieces, but a smaller, more intimate looking glass, its frame carved with delicate, intertwining vines. You lean closer, your breath fogging the surface for a moment before it clears. What you see is a face marked by youth, yes, but also by the immense strain of recent events. The faint shadows under your eyes, the slight pallor of your skin, a fine network of tiny imperfections that, to your scrutinizing gaze, seem to scream their presence. This is the face that must inspire a nation, unite a fractured court, and project an image of unshakable strength. It must be perfect. Your maid, a quiet, efficient woman with knowing eyes, carefully lays out a small, intricately lidded pot. The clay is cool, smooth under your fingertips as you reach for it. You lift the lid, and the distinct, potent scent of rosewater and almonds rises, cut through with that same subtle metallic edge you noticed earlier. It's an ancient remedy, whispered to possess almost alchemical properties, a secret passed down through generations of noble women, promising to erase blemishes, smooth the skin, and bestow a luminous, youthful glow. You dip a fingertip into the thick, creamy paste. It feels cool, surprisingly heavy, as you delicately begin to apply it to your face. You feel the slow, methodical strokes, first across your forehead, then your cheeks, circling your eyes with meticulous care. The paste spreads smoothly, a comforting layer that immediately begins to tighten and cool on your skin. You watch your reflection, seeking out every small line, every minor flaw, determined to cover them. The sensation is strangely soothing, a ritual of transformation, a promise whispered against your skin. You feel a tingling, a subtle prickle that you interpret as the potent ingredients working their magic, drawing out impurities, binding time itself. As the paste dries, you feel your facial muscles subtly stiffen, creating a taut porcelain mask. Your expression becomes fixed, unyielding. You feel the weight of expectation settling not just on your mind, but physically on your very skin. You look into the mirror, and for a fleeting moment, you see not just your own reflection, but the idealized image of the queen, perfect and unblemished, ready to face the world. You understand with a chilling clarity that the masks you wear, both visible and invisible, are not just for display. They are slowly, irrevocably becoming a part of you. A foul, overwhelming stench hits you first, a thick, putrid wave of sewage, rotting fish, and damp earth. It claws at the back of your throat, a visceral assault that makes your stomach clench. You are on the Thames, the infamous river itself, and its breath is a suffocating shroud. Then, the sound erupts, a colossal roar, an almost primal surge of human voices. It's 1,000 different sounds blended into one monstrous ovation. Cheers, shouts, bells ringing, distant drums, all vibrating through the very planks of the royal barge beneath your feet. You stand on the gilded deck, the sun, weak and watery, glinting off the polished wood. The air is surprisingly sharp, cutting through the layers of your heavy velvet gown and the fine linen beneath. You feel the slow, rhythmic push and pull of the river current, the entire vessel rocking gently, carrying you forward. All around you the water churns a muddy brown, littered with debris and the occasional bobbing refuse. You can see the dark, shifting mass of it, reflecting the grim gray sky. On either bank, London unfolds in a vibrant, chaotic panorama. The timbered houses lean precariously, some adorned with banners, others looking like decaying teeth in a crooked jaw. Every window, every rooftop, every available patch of land is crammed with people. They are a swirling, undifferentiated mass, their faces a sea of upturned anticipation, their mouths open in a collective shout. You try to meet their eyes, to offer a smile, a regal wave, but the sheer number is overwhelming, a dizzying blur. Your jaw aches from the effort of maintaining a serene, majestic expression. You feel the constant pressure of your headdress, a heavy cage of pearls and gold tugging at your hair. The scent of the river, the deafening cheers, the chill seeping into your bones. It all presses in, a relentless assault on your senses. You are a jewel, a figurehead, displayed for all to see, for all to adore. But the adulation feels like a physical force, pushing against your carefully constructed composure. You catch a glimpse of your gloved hand as you wave, the delicate lace, a stark contrast to the grimy reality of the city. The barge glides past the tower, its ancient stone walls looming like a silent, formidable sentinel. You feel a shiver, not from the cold, but from the memories etched into those stones, stories of power, betrayal, and quiet dread. The crowd's roar swells again, echoing off the historic fortifications. You raise your chin, forcing your gaze straight ahead, projecting an image of unshakable strength. Yet beneath the layers of silk and the carefully painted smile, you feel the persistent ache, a dull throb in your temples. You realize that even amidst the grandest spectacle, true solace often feels a world away, hidden behind the very masks you are compelled to wear. You are back in your private chambers, the lingering echoes of the Thames procession fading into the quiet opulence of your private world. A new scent has settled in the air, a delicate, almost sweet chalkiness that subtly overlays the usual fragrance of lavender and polished wood. The soft light of a handful of beeswax candles casts dancing shadows, making the velvet drapes glow with a deep, ruby warmth. You settle onto a cushion-laden stool before your looking-glass. A small, silver-backed mirror, its polished surface reflecting your expectant gaze. Your trusted lady-in-waiting, Mistress Ashley, moves with a hushed reverence that always accompanies this particular ritual. Her slender fingers, adorned with a single, modest silver ring, carefully retrieve a small, intricately lidded pot from its velvet-lined casket. You watch her, your attention rapt as she gently pries open the lid. Inside, the creamy white paste looks remarkably innocent, smooth and pristine, like freshly fallen snow. You feel a familiar thrill, a flicker of anticipation. This is the secret, the potent alchemy that promises to transform you, to harden the soft edges of your humanity into the unyielding perfection of a queen. She dips a tiny soft brush, with bristles like spun silk, into the paste, gathering a precise, pearly dollop. Then, with a feather-like touch, she begins the meticulous application. You feel the cool, wet sensation against your skin, a distinct chill that immediately begins to spread and tighten. It moves across your forehead, over your prominent cheekbones, down to the curve of your jawline, a thin, even layer, expertly spread. You watch your reflection, utterly mesmerized, as the familiar imperfections begin their retreat. The faint blush of fatigue, the tiny, almost imperceptible pores, the subtle shadows beneath your eyes. All of them are blurred, then completely obscured by the brilliant white canvas. The effect is immediate, striking, You see a face emerging, utterly smooth, almost luminous, devoid of any natural blemish. It's not your face, not exactly. It's the Queen's face, a marble mask of authority and ageless grace. But beneath the porcelain facade, a subtle, insistent discomfort begins to prickle. You feel a distinct pulling sensation, a dry tightness that makes your skin itch ever so slightly. A faint, persistent prickle, almost like 1,000 tiny needles, or perhaps dried clay cracking. It's a sensation you've learned to associate with the paste, a quiet insistence that something is there, pressing down. You try to suppress a shiver, reminding yourself that beauty, true power, the very image of unwavering strength that England demands, often demands a measure of sacrifice. A tiny, almost imperceptible headache begins to throb gently behind your eyes. A dull pressure that you consciously choose to ignore, to push down. This is merely the paste working, you tell yourself, binding to your skin, erasing the inconvenient marks of time and worry. It is making you unbreakable. Mistress Ashley continues her work, her eyes keen and focused, ensuring every inch is perfectly covered, blended seamlessly into your hairline and décolletage. Her movements are precise, almost reverent, as if painting a sacred icon. You feel her delicate final touch as she steps back slightly, a flicker of satisfaction in her gaze as she admires her handiwork. You look into the mirror again, seeing the smooth, almost alabaster surface of your new skin. The transformation is undeniable, complete. The woman you saw earlier, tired and human, has vanished. In her place is the unyielding, majestic image you must project to your court, to your people, to the world. The tightness, the prickle, the faint ache, these are small prices to pay for such a formidable presence. You understand, with a growing, chilling conviction, that the mask you wear is not merely a disguise for the world. The air is thick with a dizzying symphony of smells. Rich, roasted meats, boar, venison, goose, mingle with the sweet, cloying scent of spiced wine and sugared pastries. It's a sensory assault, a heady perfume of medieval indulgence that makes your head spin slightly. You are seated at the high table in the great hall, a cavernous space alive with the flickering glow of 1,000 candles and roaring hearths. The rhythmic clatter of platters, the soft murmur of hundreds of conversations, and the distant strains of a lute player form a vibrant, almost overwhelming hum around you. You feel the oppressive weight of your velvet gown, embroidered with gold thread that glitters under the lights. It restricts your breath, a beautiful cage. Before you, the table stretches endlessly, laden with an extravagant display of culinary artistry. Swans refeathered for presentation, towering jelly molds, exotic fruits brought from distant lands. You watch as a servant, moving with practiced grace, places a glistening slice of venison onto your golden plate. The meat is dark, rich, almost black, and steam rises delicately from it. You pick up your spoon, its heavy silver cool against your fingers. You bring a morsel to your lips. The taste is profoundly savory, spiced with rosemary and pepper, a burst of flavor that momentarily drowns out the cacophony around you. You chew slowly, deliberately, acutely aware of every pair of eyes that might be watching you from the long tables below. They are like a living, breathing tapestry, these courtiers and nobles, all vying for your attention, for your favor. You see their smiles, their nods, But you also catch fleeting glimpses of veiled ambition, of calculating glances. As you swallow, a strange, faint metallic tang lingers on your tongue. It's subtle at first, almost imperceptible, a fleeting bitterness that cuts through the richness of the venison. You take a sip of your wine, a deep ruby red, hoping to cleanse your palate. The wine is sweet, almost syrupy, yet that metallic note persists, a persistent undertone, like a whispered warning. You find yourself scanning the faces around you, searching for any sign, any telltale twitch of an eye, a tightening of a lip. Who is truly loyal? Who merely bides their time? The question hangs in the air, heavier than the sense of the feast. You observe the privy councillors across the table, their expressions a carefully curated blend of deference and shrewdness. You watch their hands as they lift their goblets, their eyes as they meet yours, or avoid them. Lord Burghley offers a slight, reassuring nod. Robert Dudley, ever charming, catches your eye and gives a warm, easy smile, but even his gaze holds a flicker of something unreadable. The metallic taste intensifies, a peculiar coppery flavor that feels strangely familiar, a dull echo of something you can't quite place. It's not unpleasant enough to be alarming, but it's distinctly there, a foreign presence. You take another sip of wine, the cloying sweetness momentarily masking it, but it soon returns. You try another dish, a delicate pastry, but the taste remains, a phantom note beneath the sugar and spices. You finish your meal, the feast continuing around you, a vibrant, loud spectacle. You nod, you smile, you manage to convey the perfect image of a contented monarch. But beneath the layers of silk, the heavy gold, and the carefully crafted smile, you are acutely aware of that persistent, subtle metallic taste. A quiet intrusion that whispers of vulnerability, of hidden dangers, even in the heart of your own magnificent court. You begin to suspect that some flavors are not meant to be savored, but endured, for they carry a silent, potent message about the true cost of power. The sudden, icy breath of a draft snakes around your neck, prickling the hairs on your skin. It's a cold that feels too deep for the palace, a chill that seems to carry with it an unspoken message. You are moving through a labyrinthine corridor, the ancient stones of Whitehall Palace, absorbing the sounds of your soft footsteps. Heavy tapestries, depicting faded hunting scenes and mythical creatures, line the walls, their thick woolly surfaces damp and cool to the touch. They seem to loom, absorbing light, creating pockets of deeper shadow where anything could hide, where any whisper could be born. Then you hear it. A hushed murmur, a soft, indistinct rustle of voices from somewhere behind one of the tapestries. It's too faint to discern words, a mere breath of sound, like dry leaves skittering across cobblestones. Your breath catches in your throat. You instinctively slow your pace, your hand hovering near the rich fabric. You strain your ears, your entire body tensing, trying to decipher the elusive sounds. Did you imagine it? The corridor stretches out, empty, save for the flickering glow of a distant sconce casting long, dancing shadows. A second later, you hear it again, clearer this time. A brief, hushed exchange, followed by a soft, almost imperceptible, stifled cough. The sound feels like a physical intrusion, a prickling sensation at the back of your skull. You feel the cool, dry air of the corridor pressing in, making every rustle of your silk lining, every subtle shift of your weight sound deafeningly loud. Your heart begins to beat a little faster, a drumming rhythm in your chest that you try to calm, to dismiss as mere overwork the lingering stress of governance. You feel a growing unease, a cold knot tightening in your stomach. Every shadow seems deeper, every silence more profound. You peer into the depths of the tapestry nearest you, its woven scene of a stag hunt now seeming to hold sinister implications. The hunter's eyes, once benign, now appear to be watching you, judging you. The thought is absurd, yet it lingers, persistent. That familiar metallic taste from the feast, a ghostly echo, resurfaces on your tongue, adding another layer to your growing discomfort. Is it real? Is it just your mind playing tricks? A cruel jest of fatigue. You quicken your steps, your embroidered gown rustling softly, the sound amplified in the sudden, oppressive quiet. Your eyes dart from shadow to shadow, from one closed door to the next. You feel a sudden, overwhelming urge to reach for something, anything, for reassurance. You pass a tall, narrow window, and a blast of frigid night air whistles through a tiny crack, washing over your face. It's a stark, chilling reminder of the world outside these walls, a world full of enemies, of plots, of betrayals. The whispers fade, or perhaps they were never truly there, swallowed by the thick stone and heavy fabric. Yet the cold draft of suspicion remains, chilling you to the bone. You realize that power, in its highest form, often feels less like security, and more like standing alone in a vast echoing hall, where every shadow holds a secret, and every silence holds a threat. An insidious, relentless scratch begins at the nape of your neck, just where the stiff, pleated fabric of your ruff meets your skin. It's a dry, insistent tickle that you long to relieve, but cannot. You are in your audience chamber, a grand space filled with the hushed rustle of silks and low murmurs of petitioners. The air, though warm from a nearby hearth, feels heavy, laden with expectations and a faint, sweet smell of the rosewater used to starch your immaculate linen. You stand perfectly still, your posture rigid, as you receive a procession of nobles and foreign envoys. Each gaze feels like a tiny weight, assessing, judging, waiting for any sign of weakness. Your ruff, a towering, meticulously arranged halo of fine lace and starched linen, encircles your head like a formidable barrier. You feel its crisp edges pressing into the soft skin beneath your jaw, creating a constant, chafing pressure. It's a beautiful cage, designed to elevate your head, to draw all eyes to your face, but it also traps you within its confines. Around your neck, cascading over the ruff's lower edge, rests a heavy rope of pearls. Hundreds of them, perfectly matched, cool and smooth against your skin beneath your gown, yet their sheer weight is undeniable. You feel them pulling, a constant, low drag on your shoulders, a subtle strain that radiates into your upper back. With every slight turn of your head, the pearls shift, a soft, almost inaudible rustle, reminding you of their presence, their value, and their burden. Their cool weight, once a symbol of grace, now feels like a physical anchor, rooting you in place, demanding stillness. You notice a tiny red mark already forming on your neck, just at the edge of the ruff, where the starch is particularly abrasive. You try to subtly adjust your position, to alleviate the incessant itch, but the movement feels too deliberate, too revealing. You can't scratch. You must not. The carefully painted mask of your face, smooth and unblemished with its white cerise, feels like another layer of constraint, a brittle shell that must not crack. The contrast between your smooth, pale skin and the stark white ruff is dramatic, almost artificial, designed to present an ethereal, untouchable image. You meet the eyes of a particularly insistent ambassador, forcing a serene, unyielding expression. Your smile feels fixed, a practiced movement that doesn't quite reach your eyes. The warmth of the room, the press of your heavy gown, the restrictive ruff, the dragging weight of the pearls, it all combines into a pervasive physical discomfort that you must simply endure. You feel a faint throbbing in your temples, a dull ache that has become a constant companion. It's the price of the crown, the unspoken cost of eternal vigilance, of being an icon. You can feel the beads of perspiration, almost imperceptible, forming beneath the starched linen, a secret rebellion of your body against the rigid demands of your station. You realize that sometimes the greatest pains are not inflicted by an enemy's blade, but by the very garments of power, slowly, subtly, and relentlessly constricting the life out of you. You feel a peculiar tightness in your jaw, an unfamiliar stiffness that has become a constant companion. The air in the long gallery, where you stand receiving courtiers, is thick with the scent of beeswax and the faint, sweet perfume of dried roses. But it does little to alleviate the dry, almost papery sensation across your face. Harsh daylight streams in through the tall windows, illuminating every detail, every polished surface, and, you suspect, every subtle imperfection. You feel the constant watchful eyes of your ladies-in-waiting, your privy council, and the endless stream of supplicants. A lord approaches, his expression earnest, offering a report of some minor success in the distant shires. You feel the expectation in his gaze, in the silent, waiting air. You must offer a smile, a sign of royal approval, a touch of queenly warmth. As you begin to lift the corners of your lips, a sharp, almost burning prickle shoots across your cheeks. The ceruse, layered thick and unyielding, resists the natural movement of your facial muscles. It feels like parchment stretching, threatening to tear with even the slightest shift. The skin around your eyes, coated in the same dense paste, tightens, pulling against itself. You force the smile wider, a practiced, gracious curve of your mouth. But it feels unnatural, a rigid grimace that aches with the effort. You feel a network of tiny, almost invisible lines blooming around your eyes, across your forehead, like hairline fissures appearing on what should be a perfectly smooth, unblemished surface. It's not a literal cracking, no, but the sensation is undeniably one of fragility, of a carefully constructed facade being pushed to its limits. The smooth, white mask you present to the world feels less like supple skin and more like hardened clay, ready to splinter. The pain is subtle, yet insistent, a constant, low throb that radiates from your cheekbones to your temples. It's a persistent reminder of the artifice, of the constant battle between your own flesh and the image you must project. You try to project warmth, benevolence, but inside, you are wrestling with the physical discomfort, with the strange, coppery aftertaste that now seems permanently lodged on your tongue, a phantom companion to the facial strain. The effort to maintain that perfect, unyielding expression consumes a surprising amount of your focus, diverting energy from the conversation, from the pressing matters of state. You watch the Lord's retreating back, his face filled with relief at your apparent approval. You feel your smile slowly, carefully relax, and the immediate release of pressure is a small, quiet mercy. But the dull ache remains, a ghost of the forced movement. You touch your cheek, a brief, discreet gesture, feeling the hard, smooth surface of the serous, like cool, unyielding porcelain. The urge to rub, to scratch, to simply feel your own skin is almost overwhelming, but you suppress it, as you suppress so many other natural impulses. The mask must hold. You understand, with a weary certainty, that the greatest performances are often those unseen, played out in the silent battle between the self and the image it is compelled to wear. The air is a cloying cloud of spices, a thick, sweet perfume that fights a losing battle against an unseen, unwelcome guest. You clutch a small, ornate silver pomander in your gloved hand, its cool, smooth surface a tactile comfort. It's studded with tiny holes, and from within, the potent essence of cloves, cinnamon, and dried citrus peels pours forth, a desperate aromatic shield. You are moving through the royal apartments, but the usual lively bustle is muted, hushed. A deep, palpable fear hangs in the very air, heavier than the scents. You see it in the eyes of the courtiers you pass. Their gazes are wary, darting, constantly scanning the room as if searching for an invisible foe. Many of them, like you, carry their own pomanders, bringing them to their noses with a practiced, almost involuntary gesture whenever someone coughs or speaks too closely. You feel the fine silk of your gown brush against your legs, but even the luxury of it feels thin, permeable against the pervasive anxiety. A low, dry cough echoes from a distant corner, and you feel an immediate visceral clench in your stomach. Everyone freezes for a fraction of a second, then resumes their hushed conversations, their movements slightly more rigid. You raise your own pomander, bringing it close to your face. The intense burst of fragrance is almost overwhelming, stinging the back of your nostrils, yet you welcome its potency. It's meant to purify, to ward off the pestilence, to create a protective, fragrant barrier. You inhale deeply, trying to fill your lungs with anything but the unspoken dread. The metal of the pomander feels cool against the white ceruse that coats your skin. A stark contrast between the artificial perfection of your face and the very real, terrifying fragility of your body. You feel a subtle, unshakable chill in your bones, a sense of vulnerability that even the crown and its accompanying mask cannot dispel. You see a young page, his face flushed, quickly pulled away by a frantic mother. Her eyes meet yours for a fleeting moment, wide with a raw, undeniable fear, before she quickly averts them, bowing deeply. It's a look that speaks volumes, a stark reminder of the democratic nature of illness, even in the most stratified of societies. The carefully maintained distance between you and your subjects suddenly feels like a lifeline, but also a cage. You are the queen, yet you are just as susceptible, just as fragile. The metallic taste in your mouth, that constant, subtle reminder, seems to intensify, a grim note accompanying the pervasive scent of forced cleanliness. You press the pomander tighter, the sharp edges of the spices digging into the soft skin of your palm. You find yourself listening, not to the petitions or the court gossip, but to the sounds of breath, of muffled coughs, of any subtle change in the rhythm of the hall. Every sniffle, every sneeze, feels like a potential harbinger of doom. You are constantly on guard, not against daggers or plots, but against an invisible enemy that strikes indiscriminately. You understand that even with all the power of a queen, you are ultimately just flesh and blood, profoundly vulnerable to the capricious whims of nature and the unseen currents that shape human existence. A low, mournful toll slices through the quiet of your private chapel, a stark, metallic clang that seems to vibrate in the very bones of the ancient stone walls. It's a distant sound, yet it penetrates everything, a heavy, measured rhythm that speaks not of celebration, but of loss. 1, 2, 3. Each chime feels like a hammer blow, striking at the fragile peace of the fading day. You are kneeling on a hard, velvet cushion, the chill of the polished marble floor seeping through the fabric and into your knees. The air, usually redolent with stale incense and old wax, now feels thin, sharp, carrying a phantom scent of dread. Your hands are clasped tightly, perhaps too tightly, around a simple wooden crucifix. The rough carved wood presses into your palms, a small grounding pain amidst the swirling anxiety. You keep your eyes closed, not in reverence, but in an attempt to block out the opulent yet suffocating reality of your chambers, to focus only on the insistent, rhythmic tolling. You know what each peal signifies: another soul departed, another life claimed by the unseen enemy sweeping through London. The silence between the tolls feels heavier than any sound, a vast echoing emptiness where too many lives used to be. The metallic taste, that familiar, unwelcome companion, blossoms on your tongue again, stronger this time, a bitter echo of the lead-white paste that hides your skin, a grim reminder of the many silent toxins that permeate your existence. You feel a knot tightening in your stomach, a cold dread that spreads through your limbs. Despite the layers of silk and velvet, a chill seeps into your very core. You are the queen, the chosen of God, yet here, in this quiet, sacred space, you feel utterly, terrifyingly helpless. You are powerless against this invisible foe that stalks your city, plucking away rich and poor, young and old, with indiscriminate cruelty. You try to pray, to form words of supplication, but they catch in your throat, choked by the sheer weight of responsibility, of fear. You picture the faces of your people, the ones you saw cheering on the Thames, the ones who looked to you for strength, for protection. How can you protect them from something you cannot see, cannot fight, with armies or policy? The bell tolls again, a deep, resonant hum that seems to shake the very foundations of the earth. You feel a sudden, involuntary shiver, a cold trickle down your spine. Your breath comes in shallow, ragged gasps, the air suddenly too thick, too heavy. You listen, counting the chimes, each one a stark numerical confirmation of the escalating tragedy. The sound seems to pull at something deep inside you, a recognition of profound vulnerability. Even behind the polished, unblemished mask of your public face, beneath the heavy crown and the layers of regal finery, you are just a woman, alone in a cold chapel, listening to the death knell of your own people. You open your eyes, staring at the flickering candle flame before you. In that tiny dancing light, you glimpse a stark truth. Some battles are fought not with swords or strategies, but with quiet, desperate endurance against a silent, relentless enemy that mocks all earthly power. The air in the royal presence chamber feels unnaturally still, heavy with the scent of aged wood, rich tapestries, and the faint, almost acrid whiff of the Spanish ambassador's expensive foreign cologne. You sit upon the throne, its gilded arms cold beneath your gloved hands, the rigid back pressing against your spine. The silence before the formal address stretches, taut and fragile, broken only by the rustle of your elaborate gown as you breathe. Every eye in the room feels like a pinprick, but it is the ambassador's gaze that truly holds you. A direct, unwavering stare that probes for any flicker of weakness. He is a formidable figure, draped in dark, heavy silks, his face a mask of practiced diplomacy. He stands before you, perfectly composed, an unblinking sentinel representing a nation that views you with barely concealed contempt. You feel the familiar, uncomfortable tightness of the ceruse on your face, the white mask of your queenly image. It feels like a second skin, but one that restricts every natural impulse, every subtle twitch of emotion. The metallic taste, now a constant companion, rises in your mouth, sharp and persistent, mingling with the dry sensation that seems to coat your tongue. You long for a sip of water, a simple, human gesture, but you cannot allow it. He begins to speak, his voice a low, measured rumble, weaving through carefully chosen phrases, polite on the surface, yet laden with underlying threat and veiled demands. You watch his lips move, observe the subtle tension in his jaw, the way his eyes, dark and assessing, never leave yours. You register the words, of course, the delicate dance of international power, but beneath it all, you feel the draining effort of maintaining your own facade. Your head, adorned with its heavy crown, feels like a monumental weight, each pearl and jewel a tiny burden pressing down. You offer a slight inclination of your head, a minimal gesture of acknowledgement, your own expression, a carefully cultivated blend of regal authority and impenetrable calm. You feel the familiar, slight pull around your eyes as you hold your gaze steady, refusing to betray any hint of fatigue or unease. The persistent itch from the ruff at your neck, a minor torment, demands attention, but you suppress it, forcing every muscle into unwavering stillness. This is a game of wills, a silent battle waged with looks and postures as much as with words. The air around him seems to carry the scent of stale ambition, of a relentless, unyielding foreign will. As he bows, a deep, formal dip of his head, you feel the tension in the room release, a collective exhale from your own courtiers. You manage a faint, almost imperceptible smile, a mere shaping of your lips. But even that small movement sends a familiar prickle across your painted skin. The meeting ends, and you feel a profound, silent exhaustion settling over you, heavier than any robe or crown. You realize that diplomacy, at its highest stakes, demands not only a keen mind, but also a body capable of enduring prolonged performance, a silent, unyielding instrument of state. A dry, bitter taste clings stubbornly to your tongue, even after the last of the spiced wine has faded. It's a familiar metallic tang, now almost a constant companion, sharpening as you sit at the heavy oak desk in your private study. The air here is quieter, calmer than the presence chamber, filled instead with the scent of old parchment, seasoned wood, and the fainter, sharper smell of fresh ink. A single candle flickers beside you, casting a warm, unsteady glow on the document spread before you. You feel the cool, crisp surface of the parchment beneath your gloved fingertips. It feels smooth, impossibly thin, yet laden with the weight of nations. This is the treaty, the culmination of weeks of tense, exhausting negotiations. A fragile truce with an ever-watchful rival. You can see the neat, precise script of the clauses, each word a carefully chosen battleground. Your eyes scan the final line, confirming its readiness. You feel the dull ache behind your eyes, a persistent throb that has intensified throughout the day, a constant reminder of the strain. Your hand, clad in a delicate silk glove, reaches for the heavy quill. The quill's feather, soft and pliant, tickles your skin as you grip the polished wood. You dip the tip into the inkwell, watching the dark liquid climb the feather, a tiny, ominous swell. The metallic taste in your mouth seems to surge too, an unwelcome echo of what this moment represents. You hesitate for a fraction of a second, feeling the eyes of your privy counselors upon you, even without seeing them directly. Their presence is a palpable pressure in the room, a collective breath held, waiting for your decisive act. You lower the quill, the feather brushing lightly against the parchment. You feel the tiny scratch as the nib meets the surface, a delicate rasp against the silent tension. You begin to write your name, the letters forming slowly, deliberately, a practiced, elegant flourish. The ink flows smoothly, a dark, permanent stain on the pristine page, a tangible commitment. You feel the muscles in your hand clench, the effort of maintaining perfect control, of rendering this indelible mark. The ceruse on your face feels tight, almost painfully so, pulled taut by the concentration etched on your features. It's as if the mask itself is resisting this act of finality, this signing away of certain freedoms, even for peace. As your signature is completed, a faint tremor runs through your hand. You lift the quill, setting it down with a soft click. The metallic taste in your mouth, sharp and undeniable, seems to settle, a bitter aftertaste that lingers long after the ink has dried. You feel a subtle, almost imperceptible release of tension in the room, a collective sigh from your watching counselors. Yet for you the lightness is brief, quickly replaced by a profound, heavy realization. The treaty is signed. Peace is, for now, secured. But at what cost? The silence that follows feels less like peace and more like a vast, echoing emptiness. You realize that some victories, though necessary, come with a lingering bitterness, a quiet sense of sacrifice that even the greatest triumphs cannot fully erase. A sharp, biting wind whips at your face, carrying the unmistakable tang of salt and distant, untamed ocean. It claws at the heavy velvet of your gown, making the rich fabric billow and snap around you like a storm-tossed flag. You stand on the rugged cliff top, the ground beneath your boots, a mix of damp earth and brittle wind-swept grasses. The roar of the waves crashing against the rocks below is a deep, primal symphony that dwarfs all other sounds, a constant, churning reminder of raw elemental power. You raise a gloved hand to shield your eyes against the glare of the low sun, reflecting off the vast, churning gray of the sea. Out on the horizon, a cluster of sails, tiny white triangles against the immensity, signals the departure of another expedition. They are tiny specks, yet they carry the weight of immense ambition, the promise of new lands, untold riches, and a burgeoning empire. You feel the unyielding tightness of the ceruse on your face, a brittle shield against the harsh wind. It feels dry, almost papery, pulled taut by the wind's insistence, a fragile mask against the wildness of the world. Beside you, a group of your most ambitious courtiers, adventurers like Sir Walter Raleigh, point excitedly towards the departing ships. Their faces are alight with zeal, their voices, though muffled by the wind, convey an almost feverish enthusiasm. You see the glint in their eyes, the shared dream of a new world, vast and unclaimed, waiting for England's grasp. You allow yourself to be swept up, for a fleeting moment, in their grand vision. You can almost taste the distant spices, smell the unfamiliar flora, feel the warm earth of a faraway shore under your feet. But then the icy blast of the wind pierces through your contemplation, a cold reminder of the present. It stings your eyes, making them water slightly. You feel the familiar persistent metallic taste bloom on your tongue, a stark, bitter contrast to the sweet promise of discovery. It's an unwelcome companion, an internal discord to the grand outward harmony of imperial expansion. You watch the ships shrink further, becoming almost invisible against the vastness, and a strange sense of both awe and profound isolation settles over you. The freedom of the open sea, the boundless possibilities of these new worlds, feel incredibly distant from the gilded cages of your own existence. You turn your gaze from the horizon to your own gloved hand, resting on the cold, damp stone of the parapet. The delicate lace of the glove feels thin against the raw power of the elements. You are a queen, meant to command, to inspire, to lead, yet here, facing the sheer scale of the ocean, you feel a profound sense of your own smallness, your own limitations. The grand ambitions of your realm surge outward, but your own world, circumscribed by duty, by protocol, by the very artifice of your queenly image, feels stubbornly, inevitably, to be shrinking. You understand that while the spirit of your nation yearns for boundless horizons, your own body and fate are bound by unseen, insidious chains, pulling you ever inward. A persistent dull ache throbs behind your eyes, a deep-seated weariness that has become a constant companion. The air in your map room is heavy, with the scent of old parchment, dry ink, and a faint, sweet mustiness that clings to the ancient charts. You lean closer to the massive oak table, hunched over a sprawling map of the New World, its colors muted by time and the flickering light of the beeswax candles. Your vision blurs at the edges, the intricate lines of uncharted coastlines and imagined rivers wavering before your gaze. You feel the rough, textured surface of the map beneath your fingertips, tracing a tentative line across an unknown ocean. The candlelight, usually a comforting glow, now seems to dance maliciously, making the fine print of names and latitudes swim before your eyes. You try to focus to discern the delicate markings of a newly discovered port, but the effort sends a searing prickle through your temples. It feels as if tiny, unseen threads are being pulled taut behind your eyeballs, stretching them to their limit. You blink hard several times, but the blurring persists, like a fine mist has settled over your sight. The familiar, uncomfortable tightness of the ceruse on your face feels even more pronounced now, a brittle mask that restricts every natural movement. When you squint, trying to force clarity into the fading map, the thick layer of white paste pulls painfully around your eyes, creating a network of tiny, invisible fissures. You feel the dry, almost papery sensation of your skin stretching, protesting the strain. It's as though the very act of seeing, of trying to grasp the world, is met with resistance from your own adorned flesh. That ever-present metallic taste, a coppery tang, blooms on your tongue, sharp and insistent, echoing the dull ache in your head. You lean back slightly, rubbing a gloved hand across your brow, a gesture born of sheer frustration and discomfort. The heavy gold embroidery of your sleeve brushes against the map, a soft rustle in the otherwise quiet room. You glance at the globe nearby, its painted continents now seeming to wobble, to shift in the dim light. The once sharp, undeniable reality of these new territories, so clear in your mind's eye, begins to soften, to lose its precise edges, becoming as hazy and uncertain as your vision. You feel a profound sense of disorientation. The maps, meant to bring order and knowledge, now seem to mock your efforts, turning the world into a vast, indistinct blur. You reach for a magnifying glass, its polished crystal cool and heavy in your hand, hoping it will cut through the fog. You lift it, positioning it over a particularly detailed section of the map, but even through its clear lens, the delicate script remains stubbornly elusive, a jumble of indistinct shapes. The frustration swells, a hot, bitter wave in your chest. You are the queen, meant to see clearly, to command. Yet your own senses betray you, shrouding the future in a veil of impermanence. You realize that sometimes, the clearer the vision of power you project to the world, the more profoundly the truth of your own failing body becomes obscured, even to yourself. The sharp, acrid scent of gunpowder assaults your nostrils, mingling with the heavy, oily smell of hot tar and the salty tang of the sea. It's a raw, visceral smell that speaks of war, of industry, of desperate preparations. You stand on the muddy, uneven ground of Tilbury Camp, the wind whipping at the plumes of your helmet and the banners snapping overhead. All around you, the air is alive with a cacophony of sound, the rhythmic pounding of hammers, the distant shouts of commanders, the clang of steel, the nervous whinny of horses. This isn't the refined world of court. This is the brutal, tangible reality of an army preparing for battle. You feel the unaccustomed weight of your polished breastplate, cold and hard against your stays, its unforgiving metal pressing into your flesh. It restricts your movement, a stark contrast to the flowing silks of your usual gowns. Your hand, gloved in soft leather, rests on the hilt of a sword, its cold metal a reassuring, if unfamiliar, presence. You look out over the vast expanse of your assembled troops, thousands of men, their faces etched with a mixture of fear and fierce determination, their eyes fixed on you. They are a sea of steel and homespun, their pikes glinting under the pale, nervous sunlight. You can almost feel the collective tremor of their anticipation, the shared, palpable anxiety about the approaching Spanish Armada. You have come here to speak to them, to ignite their courage, to embody the very spirit of England. You know every movement, every gesture must project absolute strength, unyielding resolve. You feel the familiar rigid tightness of the ceruse on your face, the white mask of your queenly image. It feels less like makeup and more like a warrior's paint, hardening your features, transforming you into an icon of defiance. Yet, beneath its unyielding surface, you feel a faint, persistent prickle, an uncomfortable dry pulling. You begin to speak, your voice, usually so precise, now projected with a force born of sheer will, cutting through the clamor. You watch their faces, seeing their eyes widen, their shoulders straighten, their collective breath held in thrall. You feel the words resonate not just in the air, but in your own chest, a fierce burning in your lungs. The metallic taste in your mouth, always present, seems to deepen, tasting of iron and adrenaline, mirroring the grim reality of the moment. You feel the earth beneath your feet, damp and uneven, a stark reminder of the ground you are sworn to defend. As you finish, a mighty roar erupts from the thousands of throats, a wave of defiant sound that shakes the very ground. You raise your hand, a clear, commanding gesture, and they cheer again, louder this time. A surge of loyalty and courage. You feel a profound, exhilarating rush, a raw power that flows through you, from you, into them. But then, as the roar begins to subside, you also feel the immense, draining exhaustion of the performance, the heavy weight of the armor, the continuing discomfort of the mask. The taste of gunpowder and the metallic tang in your mouth lingers, a grim signature of the impending conflict. You realize that true leadership, in moments of gravest peril, demands not just strategic brilliance, but a visceral, almost magical communion, a fierce, unwavering spirit that transcends even the limitations of your own frail body. The cold, heavy metal of your breastplate presses relentlessly against your chest, a rigid embrace that denies your lungs full expansion. You stand, still encased in armor, on the damp, churned earth of Tilbury Camp, the clamor of the troops now a receding echo, replaced by the damp quiet of late afternoon. A thin layer of perspiration, clammy and cold, adheres your fine linen chemise to your skin beneath the unyielding steel. The air, though quieter, still carries the acrid tang of burnt gunpowder, the oily scent of hot tar, and the pervasive, salty breath of the nearby estuary, clinging to your robes, to your very being, a grim perfume of battle endured. Every small shift of your weight brings a groan from the leather straps and the subtle squeak of plate on plate, a constant reminder of the physical cage you inhabit. You lift a gauntleted hand, the heavy leather and gleaming metal cumbersome, to your face. The hard, unyielding surface of the ceruse feels brittle, a tight, artificial shell that aches from the tension of your earlier fiery speech, from the forced, unwavering expression you maintained for your soldiers. You feel a new, insistent throb behind your eyes, a dull, spreading pressure that has become almost constant, a relentless drilling, deep within your skull. It's a subtle yet undeniable disruption, vibrating with every faint echo of distant command, every whisper of the wind through the tall marsh grasses. Your jaw, still set from your public defiance, feels stiff, a dull ache radiating into your temples. That familiar metallic taste, now almost a constant presence, coats your tongue, sharper and more bitter than ever before. It feels like iron filings in your mouth, mingling with the dry, chalky taste of the lead-white paste that covers your skin, a grim, internal flavor. You swallow, but it remains, an insidious, unshakable reminder of the many silent battles waged within. You notice your lady-in-waiting, Mistress Ashley, her face drawn with worry lines, as she approaches with hushed steps to offer you a cool, damp cloth. Her eyes, usually so composed, hold a flicker of deep, personal concern as she glances at your face, though she says nothing, merely extends the cloth with a silent, questioning look, her brow furrowed in sympathy. You decline the comforting cloth with a slight, almost imperceptible shake of your head, the movement stiff, constricted by the layers of metal, rich fabric, and the rigid ruff still encircling your neck. The weight of the armor, which felt so empowering, so protective, so truly sovereign just hours ago, now feels like a crushing burden, trapping you within its unyielding shell. Your skin beneath the breastplate feels hot, irritated, an insistent itch that no subtle movement can reach, a clammy, uncomfortable rebellion against the external show of strength. It's as if the very elements meant to bolster and protect you are now turning against you, slowly, silently, relentlessly, from within, corroding your resolve. You glance at your reflection, fleetingly, in the polished curve of a nearby soldier's helmet, a pale, stark face, a mask of unwavering power. But behind that imposing facade, you realize, with a chilling clarity, that the greatest threats sometimes come not from external enemies gathering on the horizon, but from the insidious, invisible forces that slowly, subtly, relentlessly erode you from the inside, leaving only a magnificent, hollow shell, a monument to a battle fought in silent agony. The scent of beeswax polish and expensive imported silk hangs heavy in your private dressing chamber, a luxurious weight that almost smothers the fainter sharp tang of the ceruse. You stand before a large, ornate silver mirror, its polished surface cool and gleaming under the soft glow of a dozen strategically placed candles. The silver frame, intricately chased with mythical beasts, feels solid, unyielding beneath your gloved fingertips as you steady yourself. What greets you is a visage of unblemished, almost otherworldly perfection. You see the Queen. A face of alabaster white, utterly smooth, devoid of any lines, any shadows, any inconvenient marks of age or worry. The skin stretches taut, a flawless canvas upon which your carefully painted, unnaturally red lips and arched, dark brows stand out in stark relief. Your eyes, though shadowed beneath the heavy white, sparkle with a fierce, unwavering intelligence. This is the image of eternal youth, of unwavering power, an icon designed to inspire, to command, to quell any whisper of mortality. You look at it, and for a fleeting moment you almost believe in the illusion yourself. But then, beneath the triumphant glow of the candles, you feel the familiar, insistent tightness across your cheeks, around your eyes, a brittle, almost papery sensation that tells of the thick layers of lead-white paste beneath. It's a mask, expertly applied, painstakingly maintained, but a mask nonetheless. You feel a dull, persistent ache behind your eyes, a pressure that seems to be radiating from deep within your skull, a silent protest against the rigid artifice. The metallic taste in your mouth, that constant, unwelcome companion, seems to sharpen, almost tasting of the very silver reflecting your perfect lie. It's an internal discord, a secret truth hidden beneath the flawless facade. You try to conjure a soft, genuine smile, a natural curve of your lips, but the muscles in your face resist, pulling painfully against the unyielding layer of ceruse. The sensation is one of impending fracture, as if too much emotion might shatter the carefully constructed image. Your expression remains fixed, a regal, distant calm, born more of necessity than natural grace. Your lady-in-waiting, Mistress Ashley, stands a respectful distance behind you. Her eyes, though deferential, hold a subtle, unreadable depth as she gazes at your reflection, perhaps seeing beyond the surface, or perhaps simply seeing what you wish the world to see. You raise a gloved hand, its delicate lace cuff, a stark contrast to the hard, flawless white of your skin, and lightly touch your cheek. The surface feels cool, strangely distant, not quite like your own flesh. It is porcelain, a beautiful, fragile shell. You feel a subtle, almost imperceptible tremor run through your hand, a physical manifestation of the immense effort required to maintain this absolute perfection, this smooth, flawless lie. The image in the silver stares back, unwavering, demanding its continued existence. This perfection, you realize, is not a gift, but a constant, demanding performance. A slow, relentless erosion of the real beneath the ideal. You understand, with a chilling certainty, that the most convincing deceptions are often those we first practice upon ourselves, until the lie in the mirror becomes our only undeniable truth. A sharp, sickening smash echoes through the hushed quiet of your dressing room. The grand silver mirror, usually a bastion of your carefully crafted image, has slipped from its stand, collapsing onto the polished stone floor. The familiar scent of beeswax and rosewater is instantly cut by a sharp metallic tang, raw and unsettling like exposed nerve. Your heart gives a sudden, violent lurch against the stays of your gown. You stare down, utterly transfixed, at the glittering debris scattered across the marble. Amongst the scattered fragments, a single, jagged shard catches your eye. It lies angled on the floor, reflecting a distorted, fragmented image back at you. You instinctively lean closer, drawn by a morbid curiosity, by a horrifying fascination. What you see is a sliver of your face, warped and grotesque in the broken glass. The alabaster white of your ceruse is fractured, creating jarring lines, and revealing beneath it, for the briefest, most terrifying instant, a patch of mottled, reddened skin, deeply pitted, a network of tiny, angry scars. It's a face you rarely, if ever, allow yourself to truly see, a horror hidden beneath layers of artifice. The flawless lie is shattered. A gasp catches in your throat, a dry, choked sound. The familiar metallic taste in your mouth, usually a subtle undertone, now floods your senses, sharp and undeniable, tasting like raw copper and something acrid, almost burning. It mirrors the horrifying glimpse in the glass. You feel the sudden, intense prickle of the ceruse on your entire face, a brittle, suffocating shell that now feels too thin, too fragile to contain the raw truth. A deep, cold dread spreads through your limbs, chilling you to the bone, colder than the marble floor. Your temples throb, a frantic drumbeat of realization, a silent scream trapped behind the unyielding mask. Mistress Ashley, alerted by the crash, rushes in, her eyes wide with alarm. She looks from the shattered mirror to your frozen face, her gaze lingering on your horrified expression, a flicker of understanding, perhaps even pity, in her eyes. She says nothing, merely moves with hushed urgency to begin sweeping the sharp fragments. Her actions a quiet, almost desperate attempt to restore order, to rebury the truth you've glimpsed. But you remain transfixed, staring at the glittering remains, the sharp edges of the glass seeming to mirror the unseen wounds beneath your skin, the damage you've willingly inflicted. The perfect image, the unyielding mask, now feels less like power and more like a fragile cage, a beautiful prison built on a crumbling foundation. You realize with a profound, gut-wrenching clarity that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are not those that lurk in shadows, but the distorted reflections of ourselves, unmasked and unavoidable, revealing the true cost of illusion. A searing, insistent throb erupts deep within your jaw. a sharp, unyielding pain that feels like a blacksmith's hammer striking at your very bones. It's a relentless, drilling ache that demands all your attention, suffocating every other thought. You are slumped in your favorite velvet-covered chair in your private chamber, the usual quiet comfort of the room now feeling like a mockery against the internal turmoil. The air smells faintly of burnt beeswax and the herbal tincture your physician insisted upon, a cloying sweetness that does little to mask the grim reality of your agony. You feel the pain radiate, spreading outwards from that central point, up towards your ear, across your temple, settling behind your eye with a dull, persistent pressure. Every beat of your heart seems to amplify the torment, a rhythmic, agonizing pulse that resonates through your entire head. Your jaw feels stiff, locked in a painful embrace, making even the slightest movement an act of immense will. You try to press a gloved hand to your cheek to offer some external counterpressure, but the thick, unyielding layers of lead-white ceruse prevent any true relief. It feels like a brittle mask, hardening the surface of your skin, denying you the simple human comfort of touch. That familiar metallic taste, now a constant companion, blossoms on your tongue, sharper and more bitter than usual. It's a coppery tang, tasting of old blood and something acrid, almost like battery acid, that seems to emanate directly from the throbbing tooth itself. You swallow, trying to dislodge it, but it clings stubbornly, an internal manifestation of the poison you willingly spread across your face each morning. The irony is a bitter pill, almost as bitter as the taste itself. You feel a wave of nausea, a slight tremor in your hands, a reaction to the sheer intensity of the pain. Your lady-in-waiting, Mistress Ashley, her face etched with concern, hovers nearby. She places a small, linen pouch filled with warmed herbs gently against your cheek. You feel the faint, soothing heat, a fleeting respite against the deep-seated cold fire in your jaw. She murmurs something soft, a suggestion of a stronger cordial, but the words are muffled, distant, lost in the overwhelming roar of pain in your ears. You merely nod, unable to articulate a proper response, unable to summon the words through the clenched jaw and the sheer effort of maintaining composure. Your eyes, usually sharp and penetrating, are clouded with the agony, trying to focus on a tapestry on the opposite wall, anything to distract from the insistent, internal war. You close your eyes, wishing for darkness, for oblivion, for just a moment of silence from the hammering within your own skull. The grand, gilded cage of your chamber feels suddenly suffocating, the rich fabrics and polished furniture a distant, irrelevant luxury when faced with such raw, primal suffering. You are the Queen of England, yet in this moment you are merely a woman, utterly at the mercy of a single, agonizing tooth. The desire to simply tear at your face, to rip away the artifice and rub at the source of the pain, is almost overwhelming, but you suppress it, as you suppress so many other natural impulses. You realize that true power is not immunity from suffering, but the agonizing, solitary discipline of enduring it, even when every fiber of your being screams for release. The air in your private chamber is thick with the cloying scent of desperation, a blend of stale medicinal herbs and a sickly sweetness that makes your stomach churn. You slump deeper into your chair, the velvet now feeling less luxurious and more like a trap, unable to offer true comfort against the relentless hammering agony in your jaw. Your eyes are narrowed, slitted against the soft candlelight, every flicker sending a fresh wave of pain through your throbbing temple. A stooped, overly confident man, introduced as a healer of rare provenance by your anxious lady-in-waiting, stands before you. He holds a small, dark vial, its glass glinting faintly. You feel a wave of raw, primal mistrust, yet the ceaseless torment of the toothache drives you to permit his ministrations. He uncorks the vial with a soft, ominous pop, and a truly foul odor rises, sharp and earthy, like damp soil mixed with something metallic and vaguely putrid. It assaults your nostrils, making your already aching head pound even harder. He dips a small, wooden applicator, rough and splintery against your inner cheek, into the murky liquid. You brace yourself, your muscles tensing, your free hand clenching the armrest until your knuckles are white beneath your glove. Then, he presses the saturated wood against your throbbing gum. A searing, burning sensation immediately explodes in your mouth. It's a taste so profoundly, unbelievably foul that your entire body rebels. It's a bitter, acrid, intensely metallic flavor, like you've bitten into a piece of rusted iron and a handful of dirt all at once. It spreads across your tongue, saturates your palate, overriding even the persistent coppery taste that has become your grim companion. You choke back a gag, your eyes watering, the sheer nastiness of it almost eclipsing the pain of the tooth itself. You feel the remedy begin its work, a strange, creeping numbness spreading through your gum, pushing against the persistent ache. It's not relief, not truly, but a dulling, a muffling, as if your mouth is slowly being stuffed with cotton. But with this numbness comes a deeper chill, a sense of coldness seeping into the roots of your teeth, into the very bone of your jaw. It feels unnatural, an alien presence within your own flesh. The metallic taste lingers, thick and cloying, a constant, vile reminder. You swallow, trying to dislodge it, but it clings stubbornly, a symbol of the desperate measures you are forced to take. Your body, once a vibrant vessel, now feels like a battleground, slowly succumbing to unseen invaders, both the illness and the harsh remedies. Mistress Ashley watches you, her expression a mix of apprehension and hope, observing your reaction intently. You try to offer a reassuring nod, but even that small movement feels stiff, restricted by the painful tightness of the ceruse on your face, the mask that must always hold, even as your body sustains this quiet, private rebellion. The quack, observing your lack of protest, offers a self-satisfied, almost smug nod. The dull throb in your head is now accompanied by a general malaise, a growing weakness that makes your limbs feel heavy, distant. You realize, with a chilling certainty, that in the desperate fight against affliction, you often invite other poisons in, mistaking their bitter taste for the essence of salvation, slowly trading one torment for another. The air in the stone passage bites at your skin, a damp, unrelenting cold that seeps into your very bones. It carries the ancient smell of river mud, rusted iron, and something else, something deeply unsettling, like trapped despair. You are deep within the Tower of London, a place of grim whispers and stark, unyielding stone. Your heavy velvet gown, usually a comfort, feels thin, offering little resistance against the pervasive chill that clings to the rough-hewn walls. You trace a finger along the cold, wet stone, feeling the centuries of anguish seep into your touch. Every echo in these narrow halls feels like a memory, every shadow a potential specter. This is where she walked, where she breathed her last free breaths. You can almost hear the soft rustle of her skirts, the faint, defiant beat of her heart, echoing across the vast chasm of time. The very air seems to hum with her tragic presence, a chilling reminder of how swiftly power can turn to captivity, a crown to a noose. You feel a sudden, involuntary shiver, not from the cold, but from the terrifying intimacy of shared fate. The ceruse on your face, usually a bulwark against the world, feels brittle and thin in this oppressive atmosphere, a fragile mask that offers no protection against the ghosts of the past. The familiar metallic taste, sharp and persistent, blooms on your tongue, tasting of iron and fear, intertwining with the damp chill that has settled deep in your chest. Your head throbs, a dull, relentless ache, as if the very stones of the tower are pressing in on your skull, amplifying the internal suffering, merging it with the historical sorrow of the place. You walk further into the silent passage, your steps muffled, your breath misting in the frigid air. The narrow window slits, high above, offer only slivers of gray, indifferent sky, a stark contrast to the grand, open vistas you command outside these walls. You are queen, yet in these shadowed depths, you feel a profound, terrifying connection to the woman who walked here before you, stripped of her titles, stripped of her life. The cold reality of your own mortality, of the precariousness of even a queen's existence, washes over you, undeniable and stark. The echoes of her fate are not just whispers in the stone. They are a chilling premonition that binds you to this place, to her, across the unforgiving centuries. You realize that some prisons are built not of brick and mortar, but of lineage and legacy, trapping you within a repeating cycle of fear and an inescapable past. The air in your private study feels thick, heavy, with the metallic tang of fresh ink and the dry, musty scent of ancient parchment. The silence is profound, broken only by the faint crackle of the fire in the hearth and the insistent beat of your own heart. You are seated at your massive oak desk, its dark, polished surface reflecting the wavering light of a single, tall candle. Before you, a formidable document lies spread open, its heavy, rough paper waiting. The bold, unyielding script of the legal text, so carefully crafted, feels like an accusation in itself, each word a stone in a grim cairn. This is Mary's death warrant. You feel the overwhelming weight of the decision, a cold, crushing pressure that settles on your shoulders, more burdensome than any crown. Your hand, gloved in soft, dark leather, hovers over the parchment. The quill, heavy and feathered, lies beside it, a silent instrument of fate. You can feel the deep, relentless throbbing behind your eyes, a dull, aching pulse that has become your constant, unwelcome companion. It intensifies now, as if your very mind is protesting the grim task laid before you. The familiar, bitter, metallic taste, so much a part of your daily existence, floods your mouth, sharper and more acrid than ever before, tasting of impending judgment and irrevocable loss. Lord Burghley stands a discreet distance away, a silent, unmoving sentinel in the shadowed room. You feel his watchful gaze, a silent expectation that weighs heavily. His face, usually so composed, is etched with a subtle tension, his lips pressed into a thin, unreadable line. He is a loyal servant, a steadfast counsel, but even his stoic presence cannot alleviate the chilling solitude of this moment, the absolute, singular responsibility that rests on your shoulders. You are utterly alone in this act, surrounded by the ghosts of what might have been, and what now must be. You pick up the quill. Its feather, once soft, now feels stiff and unforgiving against your fingers. You dip the sharp nib into the inkwell, watching the black liquid cling to the tip, a dark, potent promise. You feel the unyielding tightness of the cerus on your face, a cold, brittle mask that cannot betray the internal struggle. The skin around your eyes pulls painfully as you narrow your gaze, focusing intently on the blank space reserved for your signature. It's not merely writing a name. It's an act of absolute finality, severing a royal life, irrevocably altering the course of your own. You lower the quill, the silence in the room suddenly deafening. You feel the faint, dry scratch as the nib meets the heavy parchment, a sound like destiny being carved into stone. You begin to write your name, the letters forming slowly, deliberately, each stroke an act of will, a binding. The ink, black as midnight, spreads across the paper, stark and permanent. You feel a profound, chilling cold spread from your hand, through your arm, into your very chest, as if the life force is draining away with each letter. It is done. The signature, once a mark of your sovereignty, now feels like a brand, a heavy, indelible stain on your soul. You realize, with a crushing finality, that some decisions are not made in triumph, but in a profound, desolate act of self-sacrifice, where a part of your very being is irrevocably etched onto the cold, unforgiving parchment of history. The sweet, melancholic strains of a lute should be filling the privy chamber, but to you they are merely a distant, muffled hum, like music played behind a thick tapestry. You are seated on your velvet chair, trying to focus on the musician, a young man with nimble fingers. The air is warm, heavy with the scent of dwindling logs in the hearth and the fainter sharp tang of the ceruse on your face. You lean forward slightly, a subtle, almost imperceptible movement, trying to pierce the veil that seems to have descended over your ears. The effort creates a dull pressure behind your temples, a familiar ache. You watch his fingers dance over the strings, seeing the deft movements, but the resulting notes arrive distorted, softened, as if submerged under water. The intricate melodies, once so clear and comforting, now blend into an indistinct drone, a whisper of what they should be. You strain your ears, trying to catch the precise cadence, the delicate plucking, but it's like trying to grasp smoke. A sense of profound frustration, sharp and cold, blooms in your chest. The world, once so vibrant with sound, feels as though it is slowly, insidiously receding, drawing a thick unseen curtain around you. Your trusted Lord Burgley approaches, his steps hushed, and begins to speak of matters of state. You watch his lips move, observe the subtle shifting of his expression, but his words are indistinct, a low murmur that struggles to penetrate the growing fog in your ears. You nod, feigning understanding, trying desperately to piece together meaning from the fragmented sounds, from his gestures, from the context you already know. The effort is immense, a silent, exhausting battle waged behind your impassive, painted face. The tightness of the ceruse around your ears and jaw feels more pronounced now, almost as if it's contributing to the muffling, pressing in on your failing senses. That familiar, metallic taste, a persistent, coppery tang, rises in your mouth, sharp and bitter, mirroring the internal discord. It's a taste that has become a grim signature of your days, but now it feels magnified, a physical manifestation of the fading world. You feel a wave of disorientation, a sudden dizziness as you try to bridge the gap between what you see and what you hear, between your clear mind and your failing senses. You catch a fleeting glance from a lady in waiting, a subtle narrowing of her eyes, a hint that she perhaps notices your struggle, her gaze a fleeting confirmation of your growing isolation. You offer a vague, non-committal reply to Bergley, hoping it suffices. He gives a slight, respectful bow, seemingly satisfied, and moves away. The sounds of the court, the rustle of gowns, the distant clatter, all arrive as echoes, softened, subdued. The vibrant tapestry of life around you is fading, not in color, but in sound. You are the queen, meant to command, to listen, to discern, but now, even the closest whispers of your trusted advisors become a blurry hum, a challenging riddle you must constantly solve. You realize that true isolation is not merely being alone, but being present among others while the world itself slowly, subtly, silences itself around you, leaving you to navigate a landscape of echoes and shadows. The opulent great hall hums with the soft clatter of silver against porcelain, and the muted murmur of 100 conversations, all flowing around you like a distant, indistinct tide. The air is warm, thick with the heavy perfume of roasted swan and sugared fruits, but to you these rich, inviting aromas are merely a faint, fleeting suggestion. You sit at the high table, the heavy velvet of your gown a familiar, almost suffocating weight, its gold embroidery gleaming dully in the candlelight. Before you a silver goblet, cool and smooth against your palm, holds a generous pour of spiced wine. You lift the goblet, the chill of the metal a distinct sensation, and bring it to your lips. You expect the bursting warmth of cinnamon, the sweet tang of orange peel, the deep, rich comfort of mulled red, but as the liquid touches your tongue, an unsettling blandness greets you. The sweetness is there, yes, a faint whisper of sugar, but the vibrant, complex spices, the very soul of the wine, are strangely muted, almost entirely absent. It's like drinking a beautiful, fragrant memory, rather than the true taste itself. A wave of confusion, cold and sharp, washes over you. You take another sip, a more deliberate one, hoping to coax the flavors forth, but they stubbornly elude you, leaving only a ghost of their former richness. That ever-present metallic taste, your unwelcome, insidious companion, seems to rise and fill the void where the spices should be. It's a bitter, coppery tang, sharp and persistent, now dominating your palate, the only clear flavor remaining. It feels like your tongue itself is slowly turning to metal, dulling every other sensation. You try to swallow, but it clings stubbornly, a grim, undeniable reminder of the silent war being waged within your own body. You glance around the table, at the smiling, animated faces of your courtiers, their laughter seeming to echo from a great distance, their vibrant world suddenly feeling alien, unreachable. You feel the uncomfortable tightness of the ceruse on your face, a brittle mask that feels stretched and dry. When you try to moisten your lips with your tongue, the metallic flavor intensifies, and the movement pulls painfully at the corners of your mouth. Your lady-in-waiting, Mistress Ashley, her face concerned, gently places a piece of candied ginger on a small plate before you, a thoughtful offering. You pick it up, feeling the faint stickiness on its surface. You bring it to your lips, expecting a fiery, sweet burst, but the taste is surprisingly mild. The sharp ginger softened, almost blunted by the pervasive numbness. The experience is frustrating, a quiet betrayal by your own senses. You try to ignore the growing internal confusion, maintaining your regal composure, nodding faintly at a remark from Lord Burghley. Though his words arrive as a garbled hum, the world around you, once so richly textured with sound, scent, and flavor, is slowly, subtly, losing its vibrant edges, becoming a faded imitation of itself. The blandness of the wine, the muted spices, the relentless metallic tang, these are not just fleeting sensations. They are profound, chilling intimations of a deeper, more insidious decline, a slow dimming of the very essence of your being. You realize that when the body begins to betray its senses, the richness of the world, once so vibrant and immediate, slowly recedes, leaving you to inhabit a landscape of muted echoes and a chilling, bland silence. You sit at your massive oak desk, the familiar scent of old parchment and beeswax filling the quiet study, a scent that usually brings a sense of calm authority. A heavy document, a royal decree demanding your immediate attention, lies before you, waiting for your final, binding signature. You reach for the ornate quill, its polished wood cool beneath your gloved fingers, a tool that has charted the course of your nation for decades. But as your hand extends, a faint, unsettling tremor runs through your fingers, a tiny, involuntary twitch that seems to erupt from deep within your own flesh. It's barely perceptible, a subtle vibration that could be dismissed as nerves by an untrained eye, but to you it feels like a seismic shift, a profound betrayal from within your own perfectly controlled body. You try desperately to steady it, to exert your formidable will, to force your hand into unwavering stillness. This very hand that commands armies, signs treaties, and charts the fate of an entire empire. But the tremor persists, a stubborn, almost defiant vibration that mocks your efforts. You dip the quill into the inkwell, and a bead of dark, rich ink shivers precariously on the tip, threatening to spill onto the pristine parchment, a dark blot marring the careful script. The metallic taste in your mouth, that ever-present insidious companion, seems to sharpen, a bitter tang that intensifies with your rising panic, tasting of rust and something acrid, almost like a silent warning. Your head throbs, a dull, aching pressure behind your eyes, an internal drumbeat mirroring the subtle, uncontrollable pulse in your trembling hand. Lord Burghley stands nearby, a patient, steadfast shadow in your peripheral vision, meticulously arranging other documents. You feel his watchful presence, his silent, unwavering expectation. He, above all others, must not see this crack in your formidable facade. You force your gaze forward, fixing it with intense concentration on the blank space reserved for your signature on the decree, projecting an air of absolute focus, of unwavering command. The ceruse on your face, a brittle, unyielding mask of perfection, feels stretched taut, almost painfully so, as you clench your jaw, trying to control the tremor through sheer, agonizing force of will. You take a slow, deep breath, trying to calm the frantic beating of your heart, to quell the unruly rebellion in your fingers. The simple, once automatic movement of bringing the quill to the parchment feels monumental, a treacherous journey fraught with the risk of exposing your deepest vulnerability. You finally lower the quill, the feather brushing against the heavy laid paper with a faint, dry rustle that seems deafeningly loud in the profound silence. As you begin to write your signature, the letters, usually so firm and confident, waver slightly, a tiny, almost imperceptible wobble marring their familiar elegance. You see it, clear as day, a small, telltale imperfection that screams of a profound loss of control, a visible crack in the image you have so carefully constructed. A cold, stark fear grips you then, tightening around your chest. A chilling realization that this is more than just fatigue. more than the natural decay of age. This is something deeper, more insidious, a creeping paralysis that threatens to undermine your very essence. The unshakable queen who must always project an image of absolute, unflawed strength. You manage to finish the signature, placing the quill down with exaggerated, almost mechanical care, hoping to conceal the lingering, persistent tremor that still vibrates through your hand. You feel a profound exhaustion, a weariness that seeps into your very bones, far beyond the day's already immense labors. The air in the privy chamber crackles with an unusual tension, thick with the scent of old wood, damp wool from the heavy tapestries, and a barely perceptible sharp metallic tang that seems to emanate from your own agitated breath. You are seated at the head of the long, polished table, your hand, still prone to that unsettling tremor, gripping the edge of a dispatch with unexpected force. Lord Cecil, a usually unflappable figure, is speaking, his voice a low, steady drone, detailing some minor administrative oversight in a northern shire. But his words, normally so clear and precise, arrive as an irritating, muffled buzz, a constant, low affront to your already frayed nerves. You feel a sudden, intense heat bloom in your chest, radiating outwards, a fierce, internal fire ignited by the muffled drone of his voice, by the triviality of the matter, by the perceived slowness of his explanation. It clashes violently with the usual chill that clings to your bones. Your jaw clenches hard, a dull ache throbbing in your temples, intensifying the persistent pressure behind your eyes. The very air around you seems to thicken, becoming oppressive. The familiar, brittle mask of ceruse on your face feels intolerably tight, as if it's suffocating your skin, trapping the rising tide of frustration beneath its unyielding surface. A vein begins to pulse visibly at your temple, a frantic, rhythmic beat against the stretched, white skin. Lord Cecil hesitates, his eyes, usually so steady, darting quickly to your face, catching the sudden dangerous flicker in your gaze. You see a momentary, almost imperceptible widening of his eyes, a slight stiffening of his posture, a clear recognition of the storm gathering within you. The metallic taste in your mouth, sharp and acrid, explodes across your tongue, tasting of rust and pure, unadulterated fury. It's a violent, visceral sensation that mirrors the internal eruption. You slam your open palm flat onto the table, a sudden, resounding crash that makes the heavy oak vibrate and sends a nervous shiver through the assembled counselors. The dispatch crinkles beneath your hand, a tiny, defiant protest. A gasp, hushed and collective, ripples through the chamber. Every face turns to you, eyes wide with a mixture of fear and stunned apprehension. Their voices, moments ago a low hum, vanish into an absolute, terrifying silence. You feel their gazes, 1,000 tiny weights, but now they merely fuel the inferno. You fix your gaze on Cecil, a piercing, unwavering stare that feels like a physical blow. Your breath comes in shallow, sharp gasps, your chest heaving beneath the rigid stays of your gown. You want to lash out, to rip away the irritating mask, to scream, to shatter the suffocating calm with a torrent of rage. The sheer effort to restrain the impulse, to channel it, to force your voice into a semblance of control, is immense. A silent internal battle that leaves you trembling. You gesture sharply, a furious, dismissive flick of your hand towards the offending document, a clear, unspoken command for it to be removed, for Cecil to retreat. He bows deeply, his movements swift and unnervingly quiet, gathering the papers with shaking hands as he backs away, his eyes never fully leaving your face. The tension in the room remains, a thick, palpable entity, suffocating in its intensity. The silence that follows is not respectful, but wary, laden with unspoken fear. You feel the rage slowly recede, leaving behind a cold, desolate exhaustion, a profound weakness that makes your limbs heavy, distant. But the metallic taste lingers, a bitter, undeniable residue of the volatile storm. You realize, with a chilling clarity, that the greatest battles are sometimes waged not against external foes, but within the confines of your own mind, as the very foundation of yourself slowly erodes, leaving behind a fragile, volatile shell. The soft, cool linen of your pillowcase presses against your cheek, but as you shift, a sudden, alarming visual snags your gaze. A stark crimson blaze against the pristine white fabric. Not a thread, not a stray ornament, but a disconcerting quantity of your own vibrant, unmistakable red hair, clinging to the weave, looking almost like dried blood against the clean, pale cotton. You are in your private bedchamber, the fading candlelight casting long, dancing shadows on the heavy tapestries, and the air is thick with the scent of lavender and sleep, now abruptly shattered by this chilling sight. Your breath catches in your throat, a dry, choked sound. You feel a sudden, profound jolt, a cold dread that spreads through your chest, making your heart give a frantic, irregular beat. You instinctively reach out, your fingers, pale and gloved even in slumber, hovering over the fallen strands. They are unmistakable, the very color that marks your lineage, your identity, your fiercely guarded self. You pick up a few, feeling their fine, silky texture, so alive when attached to your scalp, now lifeless, detached. The sheer volume of them, scattered carelessly on the pillow, feels like a physical assault, a visible betrayal by your own body. You feel a wave of intense fear, sharp and cold, as you slowly bring your hand up to your head, beneath your nightcap, which now feels loose, almost precarious. You run your fingers through your remaining hair. The once thick, abundant waves, a symbol of your youthful vitality, feel startlingly thin, brittle beneath your touch. Patches of your scalp feel exposed, vulnerable, a raw, sensitive landscape that was once hidden. The realization hits you with the force of a physical blow. Your hair is falling out, not slowly, not gently with age, but in alarming quantities, a relentless, insidious shedding. That familiar metallic taste, now a constant, bitter companion, floods your mouth, sharper and more acrid than ever before. It tastes of iron and something deeply corrosive, mirroring the terrifying process happening within your own flesh. You feel the uncomfortable tightness of the ceruse on your face, the familiar rigid mask, but now it feels less like a shield and more like a cruel deception, hiding a deeper, more profound decay. It's a bitter irony. While the outside is painted to perfection, the very essence of your natural self is silently, steadily, being stripped away. You catch a glimpse of Mistress Ashley, your lady-in-waiting, stirring in her own small bed in the corner of the room. She glances towards you, her eyes, heavy with sleep, momentarily meeting yours before she quickly averts her gaze, perhaps sensing the raw, unspoken terror emanating from you, or perhaps, having seen similar sights before, choosing to ignore the obvious for the sake of royal decorum. You turn back to the pillow, to the stark crimson against the white, a silent, undeniable testament to a loss that goes far beyond mere vanity. You realize, with a chilling certainty, that some changes are irreversible, that some losses are absolute, and that even the most formidable of queens cannot command her own body to defy the relentless, silent march of an unseen, internal decay. An oppressive, cloying heat clings to your scalp, a stifling weight that feels like a heavy, unseen blanket pressed firmly against your head. It's a relentless, almost suffocating warmth that radiates outwards, making your skin beneath feel damp and strangely slick. You are in your private chambers, the evening drawing in, and the air, heavy with the scent of dwindling logs in the hearth, feels paradoxically both warm and stagnant. Your hand, already trembling from deeper, unseen issues, instinctively reaches up, feeling the hard, intricate structure of the wig that crowns your head. You feel the dense, unnaturally stiff curls pressing against your temples, the tight, coarse netting beneath that scratches and chafes against your scalp. It is not your own hair. That, you know, is now a sparse, fragile covering, a hidden vulnerability. This is the wig, an elaborate, fiery red edifice, perfectly sculpted, adorned with pearls and jewels that dig subtly into the sensitive skin behind your ears. It is a work of art, an icon in itself, but its sheer weight is undeniable, a constant, dull pressure that makes your neck ache and your shoulders slump with an almost imperceptible fatigue. The heat beneath it is intense, a private stifling inferno that slowly, relentlessly saps your energy. You feel the clammy perspiration forming on your scalp, trickling faintly down your forehead beneath the thick, unyielding layers of lead-white ceruse. The ceruse, already tight and dry on your face, seems to pull even more painfully as the heat builds, creating a brittle, cracking sensation around your temples and jaw. That familiar metallic taste, now a constant, bitter companion, blooms on your tongue, sharp and acrid, mirroring the internal discomfort, the grim reality of the poison slowly seeping in. It's a profound contrast, the outward splendor of the queen, enshrined in golden curls, against the internal, suffocating agony. Your ladies-in-waiting, moving with their usual hushed efficiency, approach you with a jeweled headpiece meant to be fastened atop the wig. You feel their delicate fingers, light and precise, as they carefully secure the heavy ornament. You catch a fleeting glimpse of your reflection in a polished silver salver, seeing the perfectly composed, iconic face crowned by its magnificent, oppressive wig. The image is grand, unyielding, almost superhuman. But in that same reflection, you notice the subtle sheen of perspiration on your upper lip, the faint, unnatural flush that the cerus cannot fully hide, betraying the internal struggle. You force a serene, almost distant expression, betraying no hint of the relentless pressure, the stifling heat, the insistent itching that gnaws at your scalp. The very act of holding your head high, of projecting an unshakable presence, becomes a monumental effort, a constant battle against the profound physical discomfort. The desire to rip the wig off, to tear away the suffocating artifice, to feel the cool, bare air on your exposed scalp is almost overwhelming, a primal scream trapped within the elaborate, golden cage. You realize that sometimes the greatest weight is not the crown itself, but the intricate, beautiful layers of illusion you must wear to justify its very existence, slowly suffocating the truth of who you are, beneath the icon you've become. A sudden, unbidden warmth spreads through your arms, a fleeting, ghost-like weight that feels impossibly real, yet utterly empty. It's the phantom sensation of a small, soft body nestled against you, a perfect, precious burden that is not, and never will be, there. You are alone in your vast bedchamber, the soft glow of a dying fire casting long, dancing shadows that stretch and recede like the ebb and flow of a quiet tide. The air, usually heavy with the scent of lavender and old linen, now seems thinner, sharper, filled with the profound silence of what will never be. You instinctively look down at your arms, still cradling the air, feeling the familiar, rich velvet of your nightgown against your skin. The emptiness there is absolute, a cold, vast chasm that swallows the fleeting warmth. A deep, quiet ache blooms in the pit of your stomach, a different kind of pain than the physical tolls you've grown accustomed to, yet no less insistent. It's a gnawing hollowness, a biological yearning that defies all reason, all statecraft, all queenship. You trace the smooth, cool fabric of your gown, your fingers restless, longing for the texture of soft, new skin, for the tiny grip of an infant's hand. You feel the persistent, uncomfortable tightness of the ceruse on your face, a brittle shell that offers no protection against this internal, emotional assault. It feels stretched, almost papery, a rigid facade that must never crack, even in the deepest, most private hours. The familiar metallic taste, now a constant bitter companion, floods your mouth, sharper than usual, tasting of unspoken regret and unfulfilled destiny. It's an internal discord, a harsh counterpoint to the profound, aching silence of your empty arms. Your head throbs, a dull, relentless pressure behind your eyes, a constant reminder of the many burdens you carry, both chosen and imposed. A faint, high-pitched giggle seems to echo from the distant, shadowed corners of the room, an imagined sound, light and joyous, that cuts through the stillness like a finely honed blade. You flinch, your heart giving a sudden, painful lurch. It's the sound of childhood, of innocent joy, a sound that will never truly fill these chambers, never be born of your own flesh. You close your eyes, trying to banish the illusion, to steel yourself against the relentless intrusion of what cannot be. The gold embroidery on your gown, meant to signify power and wealth, now feels heavy, stifling, a constant, physical reminder of the choices made, the paths forever closed. You open your eyes again, staring at the dimly lit canopy of your bed, at the vast, empty expanse of your royal life. You are the Virgin Queen, the Mother of England, her children, your subjects, your legacy and nation. This is what you chose, what you sacrificed for. Yet in this moment, in the lingering phantom touch, in the profound aching emptiness of your arms, you feel the crushing weight of a different kind of solitude, a profound, personal loss that no crown, no power, no empire can ever truly fill. You realize, with a heavy, desolate clarity, that some sacrifices are never truly finished. They linger as phantom aches, silent reminders of a life that was willingly, irrevocably, given up for a greater, colder glory. The air in the Privy Council chamber feels thick, heavy, with the scent of aged parchment, polished oak, and the fainter, sharper tang of ink. But beneath it all, you sense a palpable, unspoken pressure, a collective breath held, a conversation always lurking at the edges. You sit at the head of the long, imposing table, your hands, gloved in soft, dark kid leather, resting on the surface. They feel empty, cold, despite the warmth of the room, a chill that seems to emanate from within. Before you, meticulously laid out, are various documents concerning the future of your realm. Not treaties, not petitions, but genealogical charts, marriage proposals for distant relatives, and legal texts outlining the intricacies of royal succession. You feel the cool, dry stiffness of the heavy paper beneath your gloves as you trace a finger along a line of names, each a potential claim, each a potential heir, but none your own. The weight of these papers, though physically slight, presses down on you, a profound, undeniable burden. You feel a deep, hollow ache in the pit of your stomach, a physical emptiness that resonates with the sterile lines on the parchment. It's a gnawing sensation, a biological counterpoint to the intellectual discussions swirling around you. You are the queen, the Virgin Queen, a title both celebrated and, in these moments, a stark, painful reminder of what you chose to forego. The very fabric of your gown, so richly embroidered, feels like an elaborate shroud, concealing a profound, personal barrenness. Lord Cecil clears his throat, his gaze deferential yet probing, as he points to a specific name on a genealogical chart. You see the subtle, anxious glances exchanged between your other counselors, their faces a carefully composed blend of loyalty and quiet apprehension. They speak of stability, of continuity, of the need for a clear line. You understand their words, their logic, their absolute necessity, but they pierce you with a cold, almost surgical precision. Each mention of the heir or the succession feels like a tiny, insistent jab at that hollow ache within you. That familiar metallic taste, now a constant, bitter companion, floods your mouth, sharper and more acrid than ever before. It tastes of rust and unyielding fate, a grim echo of the lead-white ceruse that hides your skin, a physical manifestation of the slow poison you embrace. The ceruse on your face feels tight, brittle, stretched almost painfully taut, by the effort of maintaining an impassive, regal expression, of betraying no hint of the internal turmoil. Your head throbs, a dull, relentless pressure behind your eyes, a constant drumbeat of sacrifice. You press your lips together, the familiar taste intensifying, a silent scream trapped behind your painted mask. You look past the faces of your counselors, past the genealogical charts, to a massive map of England pinned to the far wall. It is your kingdom, vast and thriving, full of bustling towns and fertile fields, a green and brown tapestry stretching from coast to coast. This is your child, your legacy, your bloodline in bricks and mortar, in laws and prosperity, in the very heart of your people. It is all you have, all you will ever have, and the realization washes over you with a profound, desolate sense of finality. You understand, with a weary, aching clarity, that some inheritances are not passed on through flesh and blood, but forged in the crucible of sacrifice, leaving you to hold an entire kingdom in your empty yet ever-governing hands. A pungent, acrid smell, sharp and chemical, assaults your nostrils, making your eyes water and the back of your throat prickle. It's a foul mixture of strong vinegar, something metallic, and an almost sickly sweetness, clinging to the damp, still air. You are in a small, windowless laboratory, deep within the palace's hidden passages, a place of hushed secrets and forbidden knowledge. The flickering light of a single, sputtering lamp casts grotesque shadows, illuminating strange glass retorts, bubbling cauldrons and stacks of arcane texts. The cold, rough stone floor chills your thin satin slippers, even through the elaborate embroidery. You stand by a heavy wooden table, drawn by a morbid fascination, watching a wizened, cloaked figure, the alchemist, work with intense, silent focus. His hands, gnarled and stained, move with a practiced, almost hypnotic rhythm over a small furnace. From a glass flask suspended above a low flame, a milky white liquid begins to bubble and steam, emitting a faint metallic hiss that cuts through the profound silence of the room. This is it. This is the very essence of the ceruse, the white lead paste that forms your queenly mask. You lean closer. Despite the cloying fumes that now make your head throb with a dull, persistent ache, you feel the radiating heat from the furnace, a dry warmth on your face that contrasts sharply with the cold dampness of the room. You watch as the liquid slowly thickens, transforming into a dense, creamy white substance, almost pure and innocent in its appearance. It looks so pristine, so utterly flawless, the promise of perfection shimmering in the dim light. But your breath catches in your throat. You know what it truly is. That familiar metallic taste, now a constant, unwelcome companion, surges in your mouth, sharp and undeniable, intensified by the fumes you inhale. It's a bitter, coppery tang, tasting of corrosion and something deeply unnatural. You feel your stomach clench, a wave of nausea washing over you, a visceral rejection of the very substance you willingly apply to your skin each day. The realization, stark and chilling, hits you with the force of a physical blow. You are witnessing, at its source, the genesis of the beautiful poison that steadily, silently, consumes you. The alchemist, seemingly oblivious to your internal turmoil, carefully stirs the bubbling concoction with a glass rod, his movements precise, almost ritualistic. He glances up, his eyes, shadowed and ancient, meeting yours for a fleeting moment. There's a strange, knowing glint in their depths, a silent acknowledgement of the terrible bargain you have struck. He offers a slight, almost imperceptible nod, a conspiratorial gesture, as if confirming the sacred destructive alchemy. The fumes rise, clinging to your velvet gown, to your very being, a grim perfume of self-destruction. You feel a profound chill, a cold certainty that this pure white beauty is slowly, relentlessly corrupting you from the inside out. You realize, with a heavy, aching heart, that sometimes the most exquisite beauty is forged in the crucible of poison, offering a dangerous, seductive promise that ultimately demands the deepest, most profound form of self-sacrifice. A profound, creeping cold blossoms deep within your bones, radiating outwards, a sensation far more chilling than the brisk autumn air filtering through the palace windows. It's not merely the chill of the room, it's a deep, systemic coldness, as if the very marrow of your bones is slowly turning to ice, a pervasive ache that seems to hum with a dull, insistent vibration beneath your skin. You are seated in your private solar, the usually comforting warmth of the fire in the hearth, doing little to penetrate this internal frigidity. The air, heavy with the scent of aged tapestries and dying embers, now feels thin, sharp, like you are breathing frozen mist. You feel your limbs, once so responsive, now heavy and distant, as if they no longer truly belong to you. Each movement, even the slight shift of your hand to rest on the velvet armrest, requires a profound, conscious effort. Your fingers, beneath their soft kid gloves, feel stiff, unresponsive. a subtle tremor running through them that you can no longer fully suppress. The delicate lace of your ruff, once an elegant adornment, now feels like a physical constriction around your neck, a barrier that separates you from the fading world, pressing into skin that is losing its natural warmth. The layers of lead-white ceruse on your face, once a shield of perfection, now feel like a thin, permeable membrane. You imagine the insidious poison silently crossing it, seeping deeper, from skin to marrow, a silent, invisible invasion. It stretches taut, a brittle, painted surface that hides a deeper, more profound decay beneath. You feel a persistent, dull ache behind your eyes, a constant pressure that seems to be radiating from deep within your skull. A grim, internal echo of the external poisoning. Your jaw feels stiff, almost locked, the muscles unwilling to relax. That familiar metallic taste, now a constant bitter companion, is no longer just on your tongue. It feels like it's in your very bloodstream, coating your throat, your lungs, a grim, undeniable infusion. It tastes of rust and something acrid, a slow, internal corrosion. You swallow, but it remains, thick and persistent, a physical manifestation of the invisible enemy that has taken root within you. You feel a profound, growing weakness, a profound lethargy that makes your head feel impossibly heavy, your vision blurring at the edges, the vibrant colors of the room seeming to recede, to dull. Your trusted lady-in-waiting, Mistress Ashley, enters the room, her steps hushed, her face etched with a deeper concern than usual. She approaches you slowly, her eyes, usually so composed, now holding a raw, unmistakable worry as she takes in your posture, the pallor of your visible skin beneath the ceruse, the slight tremor of your hand. She offers a silent, gentle suggestion of a warming cordial, her touch on your arm light, hesitant, as if she fears to disturb a delicate, fracturing thing. But even her touch, once reassuring, feels distant, almost ghost-like, barely registering through the pervasive numbness that is steadily claiming your senses. You try to offer a faint, reassuring smile, but your lips feel stiff, unresponsive, the movement painful against the tight, dry ceruse. The effort is immense, a silent internal battle to maintain the illusion, even for the most loyal of your servants. You feel a profound, chilling sense of detachment, a growing alienation from your own body, your own physical self. The invisible invasion is complete, a slow, relentless conquest from the skin to the deepest recesses of your bones. You realize, with a heavy, desolate certainty, that some enemies infiltrate silently, disguised as beauty, until their insidious triumph is not a sudden, violent strike, but the slow, agonizing, irreversible erasure of your very self, leaving only a fading echo behind. The air in the presence chamber feels charged, electric with anticipation, yet also heavy with an unspoken sorrow, a pervasive, sweet mustiness that seems to cling to the very velvet of your gown. You stand, perfectly still, before your assembled Parliament and Privy Council, their faces a sea of expectation, their gazes fixed intently on you. The ornate ruff at your neck, stiff and unyielding, presses into your skin, an almost suffocating embrace that still chafes, even after decades. Your head, adorned with its magnificent, weighty wig and jeweled diadem, feels impossibly heavy, a monumental burden that strains your neck muscles to their limit. You begin to speak, your voice, usually so clear and resonant, now a little hoarse, a slight tremor underlying its regal command. Each word, Each carefully chosen phrase feels like a physical effort, a profound exertion of will against the relentless weariness that permeates your very bones. You feel the constant, dull ache behind your eyes, a deep-seated pressure that pulses with every forced breath. The layers of lead-white ceruse on your face, now thicker, more brittle than ever, feel like a fragile, cracking mask. It pulls painfully at the corners of your mouth as you try to project strength, warmth, and unwavering sovereignty. The perfect, unblemished surface is a magnificent lie, a final, desperate performance. You look out at the faces before you, seeing the earnestness, the loyalty, the profound respect, but also the thinly veiled concern, the subtle apprehension in their eyes. They are listening to your golden speech, a valediction perhaps, a final testament to your unwavering devotion to England. You speak of your love for your people, of your heart being, yours and my heart is not my own. The words resonate with a deep, personal truth, yet their delivery is a supreme act of will. You feel a sudden, profound rush of adrenaline, a raw power that courses through your veins, a final, fiery resurgence of your indomitable spirit. It allows you to push through the pain, to project the image of the unshakable queen one last time. But then, as you gesture, your hand, adorned with rings, trembles visibly, a slight, almost uncontrollable vibration that you quickly try to clench into stillness. The metallic taste in your mouth, your constant bitter companion, surges, sharp and acrid, tasting of iron and a profound, desolate finality. It's a physical echo of the internal decay, a grim reminder that even in this triumphant moment, the poison relentlessly, silently, claims its due. You finish your speech, the last words delivered with a powerful, if slightly strained, flourish. A wave of thunderous applause erupts, a roar of adulation that fills the chamber, shaking the very foundations of the palace. The sound, though muffled by your fading hearing, still vibrates through your very bones, a final, magnificent chorus of a reign well played. You offer a deep, regal bow, your movements slow, deliberate, each an act of immense, internal struggle. The weight of the wig, the heavy gown, the stiff ruff, the painted mask, it all presses in, a collective burden that feels almost unbearable. The applause continues, a magnificent, prolonged tribute to the Queen. You realize, with a heavy, aching heart, that the greatest performances are often those played out in the silent spaces between words, in the unwavering gaze, in the sheer force of will that allows a dying body to stand, regal and defiant, one last time. The thunderous applause, a magnificent wave of sound that filled the presence chamber, begins to recede, fading into a distant, muffled hum. But for you, the silence that follows is far more deafening, amplifying the sudden, profound tremor that shoots through your legs. Your knees feel alarmingly weak, threatening to buckle beneath you. The ground, once firm beneath your feet, now seems to sway, subtly, treacherously, as if the very foundations of the palace are shifting. Your breath catches, a sharp, ragged gasp that you desperately try to stifle, to hide. You are still standing, an icon of unwavering strength, but every muscle in your body screams in protest. The heavy velvet gown, embroidered with gold thread, feels less like regal attire and more like a leaden shroud, pressing against your chest, constricting your lungs. The ornate ruff, stiff and unyielding, now feels like a vice around your throat, making it impossibly hard to draw a full, deep breath. You feel a terrifying burning tightness in your chest, as if a band of iron is slowly, inexorably tightening around your ribs, making each shallow inhale a painful, desperate effort. Your heart pounds, a frantic, irregular drumbeat against your aching sternum. You feel the persistent, dull ache behind your eyes, a deep-seated pressure that has escalated into a throbbing crescendo, vibrating with every gasp for air. The layers of lead-white ceruse on your face, now thicker, more brittle than ever, feel less like a mask and more like a suffocating casing. It pulls painfully at the corners of your mouth, tightening around your jaw, making it difficult to even part your lips for air. You imagine it cracking, splintering, revealing the profound agony beneath. The metallic taste, your constant bitter companion, surges in your mouth, sharp and acrid, tasting of iron and desperation, a grim echo of the slow poison relentlessly claiming you. Your trusted lady-in-waiting, Mistress Ashley, standing a discreet distance away, catches your eye. You see the immediate, undeniable flash of alarm in her gaze, the slight stiffening of her posture, the subtle drawing in of her breath. She takes a half-step forward, her hand hovering, a silent offer of support, of intervention. You meet her gaze, forcing your eyes to remain steady, to project an unyielding command, a silent refusal of her assistance. You cannot, must not, allow yourself to falter, not here, not now, not before the court that depends on your unshakable image. The very act of maintaining this outward composure, of battling the internal collapse, consumes a monumental effort, a silent, agonizing war. You clench your gloved hands, digging your nails into your palms, a small, sharp pain to focus your reeling senses. You take a slow, agonizingly deliberate step forward, then another, moving towards the exit, forcing your weakened legs to obey, to carry the immense burden of your failing body and the weight of your crown. The sensation is one of profound fragility, of a magnificent structure slowly, subtly, crumbling from within. The grand hall, once vibrant with applause, now feels vast, an endless expanse you must cross, each step a testament to sheer, unyielding will, an act of defiance against the body's ultimate betrayal. You realize with a heavy, desolate certainty that the greatest strength is not the absence of weakness, but the agonizing, solitary triumph of an unyielding spirit over a body that, day by day, slowly, inevitably, succumbs to its own silent, beautiful torment. The air in your private chamber feels strangely charged, thick with the scent of old wood, beeswax, and a peculiar, raw, metallic tang that seems to vibrate from your very being. You are slumped in your chair, your body aching with a profound systemic weariness, your limbs heavy and unresponsive. The room, usually a sanctuary of light and luxury, is dimly lit, the few remaining candles casting long, dancing shadows that seem to mock the pervasive darkness in your mind. Your head throbs, a dull, relentless pressure behind your eyes that has become a constant companion, now intensifying into a searing, undeniable pain. You fix your gaze on the large, ornate silver mirror across the room, its polished surface usually a familiar, comforting sight, a bastion of your perfectly crafted image. But now it feels like an enemy, a cruel, mocking oracle that reflects not the queen, but the crumbling reality beneath the facade. You see the reflection of your own face, though it is not truly your face anymore. It's a pallid, almost ghastly white, stretched taut and brittle with layers of ceruse, yet riddled with tiny, almost imperceptible cracks, like ancient parchment. The faint redness beneath, the modeling, the subtle, terrifying pitting, hints at the horror you've desperately tried to conceal. Your eyes, once fierce and piercing, are shadowed, dulled, staring back with an unnerving, vacant intensity. A shudder, cold and deep, runs through your entire body, a sudden, violent rejection of the image reflected there. You feel the profound betrayal of your own flesh, the insidious triumph of the poison you so willingly embraced. The familiar metallic taste in your mouth, your constant, bitter companion, surges, sharp and acrid, tasting of iron and corruption. It's no longer just a taste. It's an internal reality, a pervasive essence that permeates your very being, a grim reminder of the many silent battles waged and lost. With a sudden, desperate surge of will, you gesture weakly towards the mirror, your trembling hand a pale, almost spectral claw against the rich velvet of your gown. Your voice, usually so commanding, emerges as a raw, strained whisper, barely audible, yet imbued with an absolute, unshakable urgency. Cover them, all of them. Cover every mirror with black cloth. Now. The words are few, but their intensity, their desperate, primal fear, vibrates through the hushed chamber, a chilling command that brooks no argument, no delay. Mistress Ashley, your ever-present lady-in-waiting, and other attendants, their faces etched with profound concern, immediately spring into action. You see them move with a hushed, almost frantic efficiency, snatching up lengths of dark velvet, of heavy, black cloth. You hear the soft, rhythmic rustle of the fabric as they quickly begin to drape it over the polished surfaces, silencing the cruel reflections, one by one. Each mirror, as it disappears beneath the black shroud, feels like a tiny, suffocating victory, a moment of respite from the relentless, mirrored truth. The faint sheen of perspiration on Mistress Ashley's brow, the tremor in her hands, tell of the unspoken terror, the deep, collective understanding of your command. The room darkens, not just physically, but spiritually, as if the very light of self-deception is being extinguished. You realize, with a heavy, desolate certainty, that sometimes the most profound act of self-preservation is to deliberately choose blindness, to shroud the harsh, unyielding truths that threaten to shatter not just your image, but your very soul. The air in your private dining chamber is hushed, thick with the sweet scent of beeswax, and the faint, unsettling tang of something metallic. You sit at the ornate table, the heavy velvet of your gown a familiar weight, your limbs aching with a pervasive weariness that has become a constant companion. Before you, a small, silver-gilt bowl holds a delicate, spiced broth, its steam rising in thin, fragrant tendrils. You lift a polished silver spoon, cool and heavy in your gloved hand, bringing it towards your lips. As the curved, gleaming surface nears your face, a sudden, horrifying image flickers into view. Not your reflection, not truly, but a monstrous parody, stretched and warped by the spoon's distorting curve. The perfect alabaster white of your ceruse is pulled into grotesque ridges, your eyes, shadowed and deep-set from decades of burden, appear like twin, hollow caverns. Your nose is elongated, absurd, a sharp, bird-like beak, and your lips a thin, dark slash, a mere line in the pallid landscape of your face. It's a caricature, a grotesque, terrifying distortion of the queenly mask you meticulously maintain, a fleeting glimpse of something truly abominable. A wave of profound revulsion, cold and visceral, washes over you, making your stomach clench. That familiar metallic taste, your constant, bitter companion, surges, sharp and acrid, tasting now not just of iron and corruption, but of the very silver reflecting this monstrous lie. It feels like your tongue itself is coated in rust, the foul flavor intensifying with the horror of the image. You feel the unyielding tightness of the ceruse on your actual face, the brittle mask now feeling suffocating, thin, transparent against the brutal, undeniable truth reflected in the spoon. Your head throbs, a dull, relentless pressure behind your eyes, a constant echo of the internal decay. Your hand trembles, a deep, uncontrollable vibration that makes the spoon clatter faintly against the rim of the bowl. You stare at the monstrous visage, then at the empty air, then back at the spoon, desperately seeking a different angle, a kinder truth. But the grotesque image persists, unwavering, demanding its recognition. The sheer shock of it, the unexpected glimpse of yourself as a horror, consumes you, momentarily drowning out all other aches and pains. The illusion, so painstakingly constructed, so fiercely guarded, has been shattered by a simple dining utensil. You gasp, a dry, choked sound, as if air itself has become a luxury. Mistress Ashley, sitting at a discreet distance, glances up, her eyes, usually so composed, holding a flicker of concern as she sees the tremor in your hand, the sudden rigidness of your posture. She says nothing, merely lowers her gaze, a silent acknowledgement of the unspoken terror. You slowly, deliberately, lower the spoon, placing it back in the bowl with a soft clink, as if banishing the horrific vision. But the image, the monstrous distortion, is burned into your mind, an undeniable testament to the cost of your queenly perfection. You realize, with a chilling clarity, that sometimes the most profound horrors are not those that stalk the night, but the fleeting, distorted truths that catch you unawares, revealing the monstrous transformation that has silently, insidiously, taken hold within you. A relentless, grinding ache hammers through the soles of your feet, radiating up your shins, burning through your knees, and settling as a dull, agonizing throb in your lower back. It's a pain that has become so profound, so constant, it feels less like a sensation and more like an integral part of your very being. You are standing, utterly still, in your private bedchamber, the air thick with the cloying scent of stale medicinal herbs, and the pervasive, almost suffocating aroma of old velvet and waning life. 3 weeks. 3 relentless weeks you have refused to lie down, to seek the deceptive comfort of your bed. The very thought of it sends a cold, visceral tremor through you, a deep, primal fear of succumbing, of dying in horizontal weakness, like so many queens before you. Your heavy velvet gown, though familiar, now feels like an unbearable weight, its rich embroidery digging into your skin, its restrictive stays pressing against your ribs, making each shallow breath a conscious, painful effort. The magnificent, fiery wig that crowns your head, once a symbol of your eternal vitality, now feels like a leaden, suffocating helmet, its stifling heat adding to the general malaise. You feel a persistent, dull ache behind your eyes, a pressure so intense it feels like your skull itself is being squeezed, vibrating with every beat of your weary heart. Your vision blurs at the edges, the elaborate tapestries on the walls seeming to waver, to melt into indistinct shadows, the rich colors fading into a uniform, oppressive gray. You grip the ornate, gilded post of your four-poster bed, its polished wood cool and smooth against your trembling hand, offering a precarious anchor in the swaying world. Your fingers, beneath their soft kid gloves, are stiff, almost claw-like, locked in an unyielding grasp, refusing to release their hold. That familiar metallic taste, your constant, bitter companion, surges in your mouth, sharper and more acrid than ever before, tasting of rust and exhaustion and a grim, desolate defiance. It's a taste that permeates your very being, a physical manifestation of the poison that has silently, relentlessly consumed you. Your trusted ladies-in-waiting, Mistress Ashley among them, hover nearby, their faces etched with a profound, almost desperate concern. Their eyes, wide and heavy with their own sleepless nights, dart to each other, then back to your gaunt, painted face, a silent, helpless plea in their worried glances. They offer hushed entreaties, gentle suggestions, trying to coax you towards a chair, a cushion, anything that might offer a moment's respite. You feel their subtle attempts to guide you, to support your swaying form, but you resist, a stubborn, unyielding core of will animating your crumbling body. The very thought of yielding, of allowing this final, debilitating weakness to be seen, is an unbearable torment. The layers of lead-white ceruse on your face, now thick and brittle, feel like a fragile, cracking mask, pulled taut by the effort of maintaining an impassive, unyielding expression. It hides the modeling, the pitting, the raw truth of your decaying flesh, but it cannot hide the profound internal battle. You can feel the deep, systemic coldness that has settled into your bones, a chilling counterpoint to the burning ache in your muscles, a constant reminder of the invisible invasion. You are an immovable pillar, a living monument to a reign, but the cost is immeasurable. The profound weariness threatens to swallow you whole, yet you stand. You realize with a heavy, desolate certainty that the final act of a long reign is not always a grand triumph, but a solitary, agonizing struggle against the body's ultimate betrayal, waged in the profound, unyielding silence of pure, stubborn will. A profound, heavy silence descends upon your private chamber, suffocating the last vestiges of sound, absorbing even the faint crackle of the hearth. You are still standing, supported by unseen hands, a pillar of rigid, unyielding will, even as your body screams its final protest. The intricate velvet of your gown, so long a second's skin, now feels like a leaden, burdensome shroud, its weight pressing down, threatening to pull you to the cold, unforgiving floor. The air, thick with the scent of stale medicinal herbs and the pervasive, cloying aroma of old velvet, seems to cling to your breath, making each shallow inhale a supreme, painful effort. You stare straight ahead, your eyes, once so sharp, now wide and unblinking, fixed on a point far beyond the velvet drapes, beyond the palace walls, into a vast, indistinct nothingness. Your head, crowned by its magnificent, oppressive wig, feels impossibly heavy, a monumental burden that strains your neck muscles to their limit, yet you refuse to let it fall. The profound ache behind your eyes, a deep-seated pressure that has been your constant companion for so long, has finally dulled, receding into a vast, quiet emptiness, as if the very capacity for pain is slowly, silently, dissolving. The layers of lead-white ceruse on your face, now thicker, more brittle than ever, feel less like a mask and more like a permanent, unyielding casing, a fragile shell encasing a fading core. It pulls at your lips, sealing them into a fixed, almost serene expression that betrays no hint of the storm that once raged within. The familiar metallic taste, your insidious ultimate companion, coats your tongue, sharp and absolute. It tastes of iron and eternity, of a profound, cold emptiness that has finally permeated your very being, replacing all other sensations, becoming the sole, undeniable flavor of your existence. Your worried privy counselors, Mistress Ashley, and physicians stand around you, a tableau of desperate concern. Their hushed voices, their anxious movements, their pleading glances, reach you as distant echoes, muffled, irrelevant. You feel their hands, light and tentative, touching your arm, your wrist, trying to coax you, to rouse you, but their touch is remote, a faint disturbance on a surface that no longer truly feels, no longer truly registers. The very world, once so vibrant with its demands and its splendors, has receded, its edges blurring, its colors fading, its sounds becoming a far-off, indistinct hum. The black shrouds over every mirror in the chamber, a desperate, final act to banish the horrific truth of your decay, now serve only to deepen the pervasive shadows, creating an impenetrable darkness that mirrors the one gathering within your mind. There is no reflection left to shatter, no illusion left to maintain. Your breath, once a battle, now barely stirs, shallow and imperceptible, a faint whisper against the vast, encroaching stillness. The fierce, unyielding spirit that ruled an empire, that defied death and destiny, is slowly, silently, dissolving, melting into the profound, absolute quiet. The last tremor in your hand has ceased. You realize with a heavy, desolate certainty that the final surrender is not a fall, but a slow, quiet dissolution, a gentle fading into a vast, all-encompassing stillness, where even the memory of yourself finally becomes one with the profound, ultimate nothingness. A profound, all-encompassing cold, deeper than any winter chill, descends upon your entire being. It's not just the dampness of the room or the waning fire in the hearth. It's a cold that seems to emanate from your very core, spreading outwards, extinguishing the last embers of warmth in your flesh. You are lying, finally, horizontally, on your great bed, the soft linen beneath you now feeling like a cold, unfamiliar slab. The air, thick with the scent of stale medicinal tinctures and the heavy perfume of dried rose petals, feels heavy, dense, impossibly difficult to draw into your lungs. Your body, so long a battleground of pain and defiance, is now eerily still, a profound, almost terrifying quietude settling over your limbs. Your head, though relieved of the heavy wig and the jeweled diadem, still feels massive, a leaden weight pressed into the pillow. The layers of lead-white ceruse on your face, once a meticulous shield of perfection, now feel like a brittle, cracking shell, pulling painfully at your rigid facial muscles, yet offering no comfort, no protection from this ultimate, internal invasion. Your eyes, wide and unblinking, are fixed on the dim, shadowed canopy above, a blur of rich fabric and dark wood. The edges of your vision have long since faded, a soft, encroaching darkness slowly consuming the vibrant world you once commanded. You feel the persistent, dull ache behind your eyes, a deep-seated pressure that has been your constant companion, now softening, receding, becoming a distant, unimportant murmur. The metallic taste, your bitter, insidious companion of decades, still lingers on your tongue, a faint, lingering ghost of rust and corruption, but it too is fading, dissolving into an overwhelming, profound emptiness. It's no longer sharp, no longer a poison, but merely a memory of what once was, a final, dissolving whisper of the life that held it. You try to swallow, but your throat feels dry, unresponsive, the effort too immense. You hear the hushed movements around you, the soft rustle of skirts, the shallow, anxious breaths of your loyal attendants. Mistress Ashley, her face a blur of profound grief, stands over you, her hand light and hesitant on your own, a silent, desperate connection. You feel her touch, a distant pressure, a last anchor to the fading world. But even that sensation is tenuous, slipping away. You recognize the presence of your physicians, their grim, knowing faces hovering at the periphery of your blurring vision, their whispers a muted, indistinct hum that holds no meaning, no urgency for you now. The world outside, its demands, its threats, its splendors are receding, becoming a tiny, irrelevant point of light in an ever-expanding darkness. Your breath, once a battle, then a shallow gasp, now falters, a faint, almost imperceptible sigh. It's not a struggle, not a fight, but a gentle, almost willing surrender. You feel a profound, exhilarating lightness, a sudden, almost ecstatic release from the constricting embrace of the gown, the ruff, the crown, the very mask of ceruse that imprisoned your flesh. The weight of England, of your crown, of your image, of your suffering, all of it, in that final exquisite moment, simply lifts. The cold deepens, but it is no longer a torment, it is a profound, liberating stillness, an absolute peace. You realize, with an expansive, serene clarity, that the ultimate freedom is found not in victory, but in the final, quiet release from the relentless burden of both body and crown, allowing the long, arduous journey to simply, irrevocably end. The air in your private bedchamber, once thick with medicinal scents and dried rose perfume, now feels lighter, cleared. It carries only the faintest echo of luxury, of a grand history concluding. You are no longer confined by velvet, by the ruff or the crown. That profound, all-encompassing cold has given way to an ethereal lightness, an absolute release from every physical burden. The dull ache behind your eyes, the constant throbbing, the relentless pains that permeated your marrow, they are all gone, dissolved into an expansive, serene quietude. Even the persistent, bitter, metallic taste, your insidious companion for decades, has finally, utterly faded, a last, lingering ghost on a tongue that no longer tastes. You perceive now, not with failing physical eyes, but with a profound, pervasive awareness. You see your image everywhere, a constellation of portraits across the realm, throughout time itself. Each one perfectly rendered, each a testament to the meticulous facade you so painstakingly crafted. You see the alabaster white of the ceruse, flawless and unblemished, eternally smooth. The fierce, unblinking eyes, the regal set of the mouth, the iconic, fiery red wig. They are all there, frozen in an ageless beauty that defiantly transcends the brutal ravages of time and illness, even the very poison that, ironically, helped create it. You witness your loyal attendants, their faces etched with grief and awe, moving with hushed reverence around your now still form. They see not the pain, not the decay, but the enduring image, the Queen. Mistress Ashley, her face blurred with tears, her hand trembling slightly, lifts a heavy, black cloth. Not to shroud a mirror this time, but to gently cover the serene, majestic visage you so carefully sculpted, even in death. The act is a powerful, poignant symbol, a final confirmation of the untouchable icon you have become. You feel no physical touch, only this profound, silent witnessing. You hear, not with fading ears, but with an echoing clarity, the hushed whispers of history beginning to weave your legend. They speak of the Virgin Queen, of Gloriana, of the unyielding sovereign who guided England through storms. They speak of her formidable strength, her unmatched wisdom, her immortal reign, a golden age. The very qualities you projected, the image you refined through years of unseen suffering, the ethereal beauty you maintained with potent, silent toxins. These are now inextricably woven into the fabric of legend, rendered unbreakable, eternally present. The immense cost, the slow, agonizing erosion of your mortal body, the constant, brutal battle against relentless pain, the profound sacrifice of a personal life, these are the silent threads, the unseen suffering, inextricably woven into the glorious golden tapestry of your immortality. The beautiful poison, ironically, ultimately forged a beauty so potent, so unwavering, that it transcended mere flesh, transforming you into an everlasting ideal. The mirror, once a source of torment, has finally been subdued, its final reflection not of a failing, suffering woman, but of a queen, eternally youthful, forever powerful, forever revered. You realize, with an expansive, profoundly serene clarity, that true immortality is often not a gentle gift, but a relentless, self-inflicted triumph of will, a magnificent, agonizing legacy forged in fire and poison, held aloft by the very self-destruction you embraced, forever defining the immutable image you leave behind, for all eternity.